At this moment, Teen was strolling alone leisurely in the supermarket when suddenly a serious voice came over the loudspeaker. Recently in City Z, there have been continuous incidents of animals attacking people causing many injuries. We kindly ask everyone to limit going out late at night. Authorities have launched an investigation. Please remain calm and avoid panic. Hearing the announcement, Teen gently clenched the food box in his hand and muttered to himself that stocking up on some extra supplies wouldn't hurt. Suddenly, the supermarket speaker blared again, this time with a more urgent tone. Emergency announcement. 10 people in City Z have been infected with a strange flu virus of unknown origin. The media will continue to monitor and update information. Upon hearing this, the entire supermarket immediately became chaotic. People murmured and talked among themselves, voices overlapping. Someone exclaimed, "Oh my, old man Lee's family is usually so healthy. A few days ago, he suddenly got an acute illness and died immediately. Isn't that also related to the respiratory system?" Another person added anxiously, "That's right. He lasted less than 2 days before passing." They continued whispering, shaking their heads in frustration. Lately, so many people have been getting this strange illness. Has the government not found the cause yet? After finishing shopping, Teen filled a whole box of supplies in the back of his car until there was no more space. As he left the supermarket, he still heard the crowds murmuring. These days, times really aren't peaceful at all. He loaded all the items onto the car. Teen stood back carefully, checking everything once more. Seeds, instant food, frozen food, meat, daily necessities, snacks, canned food, all were there. Finished, he hurriedly drove home. His mind was still busy calculating how to quickly get home to cook for Ham. And the deer he hunted this morning also needed to be dealt with immediately. Suddenly, a call rang through to Teen. He answered, "Hello." On the other end came an urgent voice. Teen, what do you think about the proposal I mentioned earlier?" Hearing this, Teen replied calmly, "You can find another job, so I can be proud in front of others." The voice on the line softened. All right. It seemed like everything was settled. But then Teen suddenly firmed up, his tone tinged with irritation like Lee Ham's, "I won't take her to the orphanage." The other side immediately got angry and shouted, "I told you there's no blood relation, and if you're carrying such a burden, then don't talk about marrying me anymore." Teen remained unshaken, his voice resolute. "Lee Ham is my sister. She's family very important to me." Seeing he couldn't be persuaded, the voice on the other end shouted even more fiercely, "Lee Tien, on what grounds do you expect me to raise a child who could be your daughter for free? We've already endured enough hard times together." The girl, now also unwilling to back down, shouted loudly, "If you don't care about me, then don't get married. Let's break up." Without waiting for Teen to respond, the other side abruptly hung up several times. Teen was stunned, his mouth half open, saying, "Fine then, no marriage." His eyes wide with panic, thinking, "This is bad." Right then his car slammed into something hard. Blood splattered bright red. Teen slammed on the brakes hard, causing his body to lurch forward, almost losing balance. The windshield in front was smeared with blood. He gasped and muttered, "What the hell is this, a dog?" But looking outside, he was horrified to realize it wasn't a dog. It was a goat, a small goat, bloodied and battered, hit so hard its head was crushed. Its eyes were a weird mix of red and black, yet it was still alive. Teen gaped in disbelief. What the hell is this? Its brain is exposed and it's still alive. The mangled goat's body bled profusely. The old goat limped to the roadside and slipped into the bushes. Teen stared after its retreating figure, muttering, "Forget it. It ran away, that's good. No need to call traffic police." Then he continued driving back to the farm. When he arrived, only Teen was there, quietly carrying the supplies from the car. Suddenly, a cheerful voice from behind caught his attention. "Brother Teen?" Turning around, he saw little Ham running out happily to greet him with 2 dogs. Ham shouted joyfully, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Seeing Ham and the 2 dogs excitedly greeting him, Teen smiled softly and gently reminded, "Slow down or you'll fall." The 2 dogs wagged their tails excitedly upon his return. As for Ham, she smiled innocently, her eyes sparkling as she looked at him. He bought so many things. The little girl ran over eagerly to help him carry the stuff. Teen handed her a small bag and said, "You carry this." Ham obediently nodded yes. Then the two of them carried the pile of stuff into the house together. Lively laughter and chatter echoed while they carried the things. Ham chattered as she worked, "Big brother, big brother, I've finished all the tasks you gave me. I added grass to the cow's pen and changed the water to water the flowers too." Ham was very tired and said she needed to eat Big Brother's meat to feel better. Thien laughed indulgently and said, "All right, I'll cook some stewed deer with radish for silly Ham to eat." At that, the little girl cheered, eyes shining bright. "Okay." Then Ham went on babbling about all kinds of things. Thien carried the stuff while watching the innocent little girl. The corners of his mouth unconsciously curled into a warm smile. Suddenly, Ham noticed the little dog Xiaobai chewing on the flower plants. She quickly ran over and gave the dog a sharp tap on the head, causing it pain, and shouted, "Xiaobai, bad dog, don't chew the flowers." The two of them, along with the dogs, happily walked into the house. On the ground, footprints big and small were mixed together, telling the simple story of their day. But just as they stepped inside, something strange made Thien freeze in place. The cow in the pen suddenly stared fixedly at him. Its mouth was still chewing grass, but its red eyes flashed with a sinister, murderous look, as if stalking both him and Ham. Inside the house, the two brothers started cooking. Ham innocent asked while eating Big Brother, "I've never seen a solar eclipse before. Will it get completely dark soon?" At that moment, the radio announced excitedly, "The most magnificent total solar eclipse of the century is about to happen." Ham, her mouth still full, smiled with eyes squinting. "Delicious. Not only is Big Brother's hunting skill getting better, but his cooking skills are top-notch too." Thien smiled and replied, "It won't get completely dark. It's just the sun being covered. Plus you have to wear the glasses I gave you to see it." A radio started counting down 9-8, but Ham suddenly pointed outside, curiously asking what that was. Thien quickly followed her finger and suddenly stood up straight in surprise. Outside, a strange phenomenon appeared. A huge black mass covered the sky, making everything dark as ink. The radio continued counting down 7-6. The sun was gradually obscured, darkness spreading until the radio reached 3-2. All the electrical devices in the house flickered and then went completely dark. Ham anxiously shouted, "Why did the power go out?" Moreover, it's so cold. Everything around was engulfed in thick darkness. Thien's dogs began to panic and bark loudly, "Woof, woof, woof." Thien stood in the middle of the house, momentarily panicked. The radio crackled and then went silent. Ham fearfully pointed in another direction, her voice trembling. "Big Brother, look over there." Thien rushed out to the balcony, shocked into silence. The air suddenly turned freezing cold, and thick snow fell blanketing the entire space in white. In panic, he exclaimed, "Why is it snowing so heavily in the middle of summer?" Worried, he turned to Ham with a firm voice. Ham, go back to your room quickly. I'll lock up the cows and goats tightly and come right back. Xiaobai, you stay and watch Ham. I see she's worried." Thien reassured, "Don't worry, Xiaohei, let's go." He and Xiaohei struggled against the wind and snow, stepping out into the storm. The blizzard howled fiercely, forcing Thien to shout, "The blizzard is too strong!" "Xiaohei, are you still okay?" The sun had been completely covered in the sky, leaving only a huge, gloomy black mass hanging in the air. Snow fell heavily, and the trees were battered and bent by the wind. Thien fought through each step filled with confusion. How could this be? He looked up at the pitch-black sky in stunned disbelief. The sun, Xiaohei suddenly tensed, lifting his head toward the black mass in the sky, his eyes flashing with unease. Thien muttered, trying to piece together all the strange events in his mind, the dead plants, the storm, the unusual blizzard, and the sun disappearing too bizarre. Suddenly, Xiaohei growled fiercely, baring sharp teeth, his eyes glowing red like fire with a sinister look directly facing Thien. He barked sharply, "Woof, woof!" Thien's heart pounded wildly, but before he could steady himself, he felt lethal intent behind him. Turning around in horror, he saw the bull in the pen, its red eyes full of ferocity, charging straight at him. I thought Little Black was going to attack. Tien quickly dodged, but unexpectedly Little Black lunged forward and bit the buffalo to protect him. The mad buffalo rammed fiercely, causing Little Black and it to struggle violently. Tien swiftly jumped aside and avoided the terrifying attack. He ran frantically forward, heart pounding, mind panicked. Where was his bow and arrows? Luckily, he found the bow lying on a nearby log. On the other side, Xiaohei was thrown off by the buffalo due to the strength difference. Tian hurriedly raised his bow, aiming straight at the enraged buffalo with bloodshot eyes. He muttered a curse, "Damn it." The arrow shot swiftly and hit the buffalo right in the head. It howled in pain and staggered. Tian felt a brief relief, thinking, good, this time it's over. But the buffalo still stood tall, not faltering at all, even more furious as it charged straight at him with terrifying speed. Tian exclaimed in shock, "Unbelievable, it's still not dead!" Confused, he raised the bow again, but panicked when he realized he was out of arrows. Damn it. In desperation, he ignored everything and continued searching for arrows, but found none. At that moment, the buffalo rammed hard, throwing Tian far away, pain so intense he felt like he saw heaven and earth. Xiaohei panicked, barking loudly and rushing to bite the buffalo to distract it. The buffalo's eyes, still blazing with murderous rage, continued charging at Tian, who was now rolling on the ground in pain. Xiaohei barked fiercely like a guard dog. Tian suddenly understood the look aimed at the house made his heart chill. If this buffalo mutated, then Ham inside the house was not safe either. As expected, inside the house, Xiaobai was also going mad eyes bloodshot, growling at Ham. The little girl backed away, scared, trembling as she asked, "What's wrong with you, Xiaobai?" Xiaobai charged aggressively, but luckily Tian rushed in just in time, kicking Xiaobai away to save Ham by a hair. Seeing Tian rush to save her, Ham panicked and shouted, "Big brother!" looking at Xiaobai, growling fiercely. Tian was horrified and hurriedly picked up the girl, saying, "I'm taking you to Boss House. Hide well inside and don't go out. It's still too dangerous outside, not resolved yet." Ham worriedly voice trembling asked, "But Xiaobai..." Tian cut her off firmly. "Right now, Xiaobai is very dangerous. Listen to Big Brother, don't go outside under any circumstances." The little girl obediently nodded, "Okay." Tian dragged his feet heavily, carrying Ham through the raging snowstorm. Wind howled in gusts. Snow blanketed everything white, making every step difficult. Finally, the two siblings reached Boss House. They stood amidst the thick snow, tense and panicked, but still pushed forward inside. Suddenly, a strange screen appeared before Tian's eyes, displaying the number of ammo and living beings within range 4. He was stunned, thinking, "Not again, this can't be a hallucination. What on earth is this?" Before he could think further, he hurriedly placed Ham inside and shouted, "Get in quickly!" The little girl fearfully responded, "Okay." Tian continued sternly, "No matter what happens, don't go outside, trust me." The strange screen appeared again, showing the number of ammo and living beings within range 5. Suddenly, Xiaobai lunged from behind and crashed straight into Tian. He couldn't react in time and fell forward while Xiaobai growled, eyes bloodshot, aiming straight at him. Inside, Ham heard the noise, panicked, and banged on the door, shouting, "Big brother!" Luckily, Xiaohei rushed over in time to rescue, growling fiercely and jumping to bite Xiaobai. Woof, woof, woof. Seeing Xiaohei, Tian felt a moment of relief, but the surrounding scene was now chaotic to the extreme. Xiaohei was wrestling with Xiaobai while the furious buffalo chased Tian, eyes blazing with murderous intent. He shouted loudly at Xiaohei, "Xiaohei, hold on, I'll deal with this and come back." Tian ran frantically to a tree and grabbed an axe lying nearby. Standing before a huge, ancient tree, he stopped and faced the buffalo with a determined look. The fierce buffalo charged. Tian swiftly dodged to one side as the buffalo used too much force. It thrashed wildly, trying to break free. Tian gripped the axe tightly, raised it high, and looked at the buffalo, coldly saying, "Go to hell." But before he could strike, Xiaobai went mad, lunging from behind and biting hard into Tian's neck. He glanced in panic, thinking, "Am I dead?" The situation worsened when the buffalo pulled its horn free and rammed straight into Tian. He coughed up blood and collapsed, powerless to resist. Chaotic thoughts flashed through his mind. "No, don't slash down so loudly. Why is this happening?" As Tian nearly fainted, suddenly a sound rang out the system linking to the Apocalypse survival game. Floating system screens appeared around, making Tian panic. "What is this? Is this a joke? Damn it!" The screen continued to display the player Li Tian. He cursed silently, "Move, you useless thing." But at that moment, he was in terrible shape. His belly pierced by a bullhorn, blood flowing everywhere. Exhausted, Tian still gripped the axe, tightly determined to think about how Ham could survive. The system rang again, Apocalypse game link successful. Tian collapsed, his body sinking into darkness as if everything was over. But another sound rang out. Apocalypse game loaded successfully. Player Lee Thien Thien, Shelter Level 1 with poor business estate. The system continued with skill rewards for Shelter Level 1 Homestay Level Realistic Eye skill. A blinding white light appeared before his eyes. The system notified the points needed to upgrade the fortress 8,000. Suddenly, Thien Thien opened his eyes, waking up on cold ground. He was stunned and wondered, am I still alive? Touching his belly, he was shocked to find the wound completely healed. Torn clothing and bloodstains remained, but he muttered, clearly pierced by a bullhorn, how did the wound disappear? He tried to recall, but the images in his mind were blurred like a TV losing signal. The harder he tried to remember, the worse his headache became. Touching his forehead, he glanced elsewhere and was horrified by the gruesome scene. The bull was cut in half, Tubok's head severed from its neck, both lying scattered on the ground. Thien Thien was dazed, wondering what had happened after he lost consciousness. He stared at the two bodies, unable to believe his eyes. This destructive power isn't something a human could do. Vague images appeared when he lost consciousness. Thien Thien, standing tall, his eyes blank and lifeless, his body emitting blue electric sparks. The system rang out, player Lee Thien Thien. Tubok, though, biting his neck tightly, was suddenly flung away by an invisible force. The system displayed a message, welcome to the Apocalypse survival game, player identity activated. Suddenly, Thien Thien felt strength surge through him. He swung his fist hard at Tubok. The tremendous force caused it to fly back in pain, howling miserably. Not stopping, Thien Thien clenched the axe, poised majestically like a war god. He charged forward and, with a decisive slash, cut the giant bull's body in two. It roared in pain, its body split in half, blood spraying everywhere. But then Thien Thien lost consciousness, acting unconsciously, his eyes blank and lifeless, his body rapidly healing wounds and closing them instantly. In his daze, he lunged at the bull in front of him. When he woke up, Thien Thien was startled and screamed, sitting down on the ground. A thought flashed in his mind. That's right. I had died before the wounds healed. This power doesn't belong to me. Looking up at the sky, he was amazed to see countless floating system screens displaying information. He guessed silently that this so-called system was exactly like a game. A voice rang out. Game loaded successfully. Shelter linked successfully. Accumulated points store activated. Newbie rewards issued. Inviting the player to check. Thien Thien mumbled, looking at the sky. Huh. The system sound appeared again. According to some online games, a mission is probably about to be announced. Suddenly, a lightning bolt flashed through his brain, startling him into confusion. The system screen appeared with information as if directly transmitted into his head. He thought in shock, news transmitted straight into the brain. The system announced, the first round of the season of destruction has arrived. 30 days until the second round begins. The Apocalypse Shelter is the only fortress for refuge. The player's mission is to survive in the Apocalypse game while turning the shelter into the strongest castle. Thien Thien was stunned, muttering, the first round of the season of destruction is only just beginning. He continued thinking, the first round is poisoned land, so what will the second round be? He stood up, looking at Little White lying unconscious on the ground, recalling the system's words. He thought to himself, Little White and the buffalo must have eaten radioactive contaminated plants causing mutation. He carefully approached, tied a muzzle on Little White, then carried him on his shoulder, muttering, after mutating, the body is enhanced, but also more aggressive, must be confined to avoid hurting others. Thien Thien carried Little White back as Boss House opened the door. He immediately thought of Ham Ham, needing to see how she was doing. Inside was pitch dark. Tien turned on his phone flashlight, the dim light illuminating the path. He tried the light switch, but there was no response. He thought to himself the electrical system still hadn't been restored. Checking his phone, he realized there was no signal, muttering, telecom is cut off too. Luckily, there's a backup generator, no big deal. He looked around, uneasy. Where is Ham Ham? Why is she so quiet? Glancing toward the corner of the container, he was alarmed to see Ham Ham's feet exposed. He shouted, Ham Ham, and hurried over to shake her awake. Ham Ham kept her eyes closed, motionless. Tien worriedly called out, what happened to Ham Ham? Just then, the system displayed a message, name Lee Ham Ham status deep sleep. Seeing this, he exhaled in relief. Ham Ham gradually woke up, blinking drowsily, weakly, saying, Big Brother. Ham Ham obediently sat up, waiting for Big Brother there. A white light shone. I don't remember anything anymore, Big Brother. Are you okay? Seeing the girl concerned, Tien gently replied, Ham Ham, Why did you sleep straight on the ground without a mattress? Don't worry, everything's been taken care of. Ham asked softly, where's Little White? Tian gently replied, Little White is injured, so he can't meet Ham right now. You sleep here, big brother has a little business to handle. The girl nodded at ease, Tian laid a mattress for Ham to ensure she was comfortable, then quietly left outside. The sky was pitch black and gloomy as if signaling a nightmare. Tian muttered there were temporarily no more mutated livestock. Not sure how this system differed from online games. He opened the system screen, fiddled around, muttering the newbie rewards were just like in games. After searching for a while with nothing interesting found, he grumbled, is that all? Felt underwhelming, thought there would be weapons or special skills. Turns out you can't start max level right away. Suddenly, a mysterious question mark appeared on the screen. Tian curiously muttered, what's this question mark? He looked closely and realized, this system's currency is seed points you can plant on poisoned soil. Interesting. On the screen, the system displayed a bunch of items, but the expensive prices made him sigh. Poor devil like me can't afford this. He sat alone under a tree, fiddling with the system while checking supplies at home. He muttered, anything in direct contact with the ground is poisoned to varying degrees. Dead power, dead network. Outside situation probably isn't optimistic either. Suddenly he paused, looking at the screen, recalling the image of the mutated aggressive buffalo and Little White. He was startled. Must handle the infection source immediately. In front of him, a huge fire flared fiercely. Tian stood dazed, watching, then stepped into a room. Opening the door, he was stunned. The entire wall was covered with guns and ammunition. He flipped the switch to start the diesel generator. Dim light flooded in. Tian casually picked up a gun, quickly checked it, then tucked it into his jacket. He carefully placed a walkie-talkie next to the sleeping Ham, then left. Tian got on a vehicle and sped off into the gloomy atmosphere, thick fog and swirling dust, making the scene terrifying. Suddenly, behind his vehicle, a pack of frenzied, mutated monsters charged, growling to attack. Tian noticed in time, drew his gun, aiming straight at them, muttering, are these mutants attracted to me? Well then, quick and decisive. But suddenly another vehicle appeared, firing continuously at him. Tian frowned, confused about what was happening. That other vehicle suddenly charged forward to block his. They were too fast, forcing Tian to brake hard. Before he could understand their intentions, someone from that vehicle aimed a cannon gun at Tian. He hurriedly raised his hands in surrender. The man looked at him, then turned to the radio with a firm warning, target eliminated, over. Tian noticed the logo on the man's uniform was a military emblem. His face darkened as he thought silently, the army from some base in the city must have had a riot. Not sure about Trung Lam her? The man urgently shouted, hey you, it's very dangerous outside right now. Don't wander around the streets. Tian replied anxiously, I ran out of supplies at home, that's why I came out. May I ask what's the situation in the city now? The other's radio crackled. Zone B is under attack by a pack of mutant cats, send backup immediately. The man responded quickly, yes, understood. Then he shouted to Tian, if you need supplies, head to the government-designated special zone. The city is no longer safe, go home quickly. Tian nodded, I got it. Following the army vehicle, the sky echoed with helicopter sounds. Tian quietly observed, thinking, even specialized aircraft have appeared. Seems like the number of mutant animals isn't small. Although he had parted ways with Trung Lam, he muttered, in this apocalypse world, I can't abandon her. I might as well check on her along the way. Even though they only knew each other casually, he still felt uneasy. The city was now desolate smoke billowing the sky, dark and gloomy, as if foretelling a nightmare. He was driving when Tian heard a warning broadcast. Attention units, there have been several robberies on the roads. A few bodies of women were found near the lake. Time of death unknown. He glanced in the rear-view mirror and saw police cars passing by, his heart heavy. Besides police cars, only ambulances remained on the road. An ambulance sped past, screams of panic rang out. The patient is losing too much blood, can't hold on much longer, hurry. Another urgent voice added, it's caused by contaminated food affecting the lungs. Chaos reigned. The girl in the ambulance moaned in agony while the medical staff shouted, prepare adrenaline! No use! The patient has already had too many heart stimulants. Meanwhile, at another corner, a more tragic scene unfolded. A woman desperately shook her husband, crying loudly, honey, Don't fall asleep, hang on. We're almost at the hospital. But the husband, growing weaker, gave up, murmuring, "Let it go." The healthcare system had collapsed, no hospital beds left, and emergency numbers couldn't be reached. Seeing these miserable people on the streets, Tian Tian sighed deeply, realizing the medical system was completely paralyzed and unable to handle radioactive food poisoning. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, heart heavy. Can I really help Ham survive this apocalypse game? Outside, the streets were ruined, everything in ruins, smoke and dust thick. The police loudspeaker announced, "Attention residents, this is a government-designated essential supplies distribution point. Please maintain order." A police officer shouted, "Line up to buy supplies. Each person is allocated 5 kilos of rice, 5 kilos of flour, and 1 kilo of vegetables." But the panicked crowd pushed and shoved. Someone yelled, "Don't cut in line, damn it. I've been waiting 5 hours. Let me buy first." "This spot is mine. I only went to the bathroom for a moment," he arrogantly said. "You uneducated farmers. I'm the CEO of Tandong Company. You cross me, you won't end well." Suddenly he shouted, "Whoa, who just stepped on me?" In another corner, a mother and daughter hugged each other, crying loudly. The little girl panicked, crying and shouting, "Mom, my food!" Tian Tian sat in the car watching the chaotic scene outside. People were fighting over essential goods. Someone shouted, "That's my food. I clearly took control of that supply area." Noise and chaos. Seeing no chance, Tian Tian had to leave and change direction toward Trung Lam's house. He muttered, trying to remember the left turn. Ahead was the apartment she rented. Suddenly, a car rushed out unexpectedly. Tian Tian braked hard, almost colliding. A man stepped out of the other car, looking left and right nervously. He approached and knocked on Tian Tian's car window. His eyes were tense. Tian Tian looked at the man and asked, "Brother, did you just come from the supply collection point over there?" The man replied cautiously, "Is something wrong?" "See?" Then he continued, "I just saw you driving from the department store market over there trying to buy food but couldn't, right?" Suddenly, he pulled out a bag full of vegetables, sweet potatoes, watermelon, zucchini, pumpkin tomatoes, and more greens. "Whatever you want to buy, I have it." Tian Tian fell silent, his cold gaze calculating. He smiled challengingly. "If you dare eat any of these in front of me, I'll buy everything from you." The man hesitated awkwardly. "What do you mean, don't trust each other?" Then he changed his tone, scolding, "If I didn't pity you for not buying anything yet, I wouldn't have sold my vegetables to you. What a thankless favor." Tian Tian cut in, slamming the car door with a cold tone. "All right, make way." The man still didn't let go and shouted, "Hey, what kind of talk is this, old friend?" Tian Tian shot him a sharp glance and pulled out a gun, pointing it straight at him. The man panicked and stammered, "Brother, let's talk this through slowly." But Tian Tian spoke coldly with fierce determination. "Doing such an unethical deal, I could shoot you and no one would say a word. Get lost." The man trembled and cautiously replied, "Yes, yes." He quickly climbed into his car, mumbling angrily, "Damn, lost one order running into a tough guy." Then he drove away. Tian Tian stopped the car in front of a bare apartment building, got out slowly, and climbed the stairs to an apartment. He knocked and called for Trung Lam, but got no response. Out of habit, he bent down to pick up the mat and took out a hidden key underneath, muttering, "Not home," opening the door then. He stepped into the pitch-dark, surprisingly messy room. Tian Tian was shocked. Trung Lam usually likes things clean, so why leave the house like this? He glanced at the bed, then looked at the bookshelf and found a packet of medicine, picking it up to examine. He froze, antibiotics from Thin Yun. "This brand has a terrible reputation. Why did she buy this?" He scanned the room, guessing there was no blood stain. Not food poisoning. Looking at the painting hanging on the wall, he muttered, "The messy house doesn't match her style." The door lock shows no sign of being tampered with. Everything seems deliberately arranged. Tian Tian frowned, uneasy. In this chaos, where could she have gone? Scene changes to a system notification showing the city outskirts a villa, an unprofitable business, a lodging rank skill reward, and a level 1 realistic eye hideout. All objects and creatures are digitized before the host's eyes. An area of 30 acres can be used for livestock farming and construction. Scene changes to an old tent. The system continues with status, profit, loss, dilapidated, greenhouse level 1. Seeing this, Tian Tian clenched his fists resolutely. I have to earn enough points to upgrade farm items. I can't let radiation affect the crops. Thien swung his hoe diligently, digging soil with sweat dotting his forehead. Suddenly, Hamham's voice rang out excitedly. Big brother, those seeds really sprouted. The seeds you planted in the soil have sprouted. The little girl's eyes sparkled as she looked at the tiny buds in delight. Thien also cheered, putting Quook down, and replied, Let me take a look. He bent down to look at the fresh green sprouts. The system immediately displayed data for tomato sprouts with a ripening time of 48 hours. He muttered to himself, It worked. Radiation-resistant grade seeds just like the system described. Thien was thrilled and full of hope. The ripening time is much shorter. As long as I earn enough points, Hamham and I will surely survive this apocalypse. Hamham excitedly chimed in, The seeds I planted before all withered. Hamham thought we wouldn't have any food to eat later. No wonder Big Brother found these seeds. Thien smiled proudly. Of course Big Brother will have a way. Also, the rules I taught you, remember them well. No. Hamham nodded, raising her hand innocently, counting. 1, don't eat anything given by others except Big Brother. 2, don't run outside the farm without Big Brother's permission. 3, if you spot strange animals, run away immediately. Also, watch 2 Hack, don't let him eat stuff randomly. The girl turned to the dog with a serious tone. Right, 2 Hack, did you hear me? The system suddenly announced, Radiation-resistant products have ripened, please harvest. Thien was amazed, muttering, Just planted and already ripe. The ripe, bright red tomatoes looked unusually appetizing. He held one, and the system continued, Radiation-resistant grade tomatoes rich in nutrients boost physical strength, shelf life, 30 days. Thien bit into one, and immediately felt a surge of energy like electricity coursing through his body. He was surprised as his whole body warmed up and the fatigue from the past few days vanished. He thought silently. Improving physical strength during the apocalypse with scarce food. I not only have food but also attribute boosts. This system clearly wants me to master the farm completely. The system continued unlocking the right to buy items at the shop, upgrade the hideout, which requires accumulation points. The reward system is the only way to earn points by reclaiming crops, livestock, meat, and minerals with prices depending on grade. A system listed crop tier ranks from highest to lowest. Super God Level 4 enhancement. God Level 3 strength. Ancient medicine Level 2. Radiation resistance Level 1. Converting 1 kilo of radiation-resistant crops equals 1 accumulation point. 1 kilo of ancient medicine level equals 100 points. 1 kilo of God level equals 1,000 points. 1 kilo of super God level equals 10,000 points. Tian clenched the tomato tightly, eyes shining as she thought, As long as I have enough accumulation points, I can turn the manor into a top military base. He muttered eagerly, This is only radiation resistance level. The 3 higher tiers must be much more effective. Tian excitedly turned back and cheered, Great, let's see how the ancient medicine level harvest is. But when he looked behind, he was stunned and muttered, No wonder it's ancient medicine level, the ripening rate is only 10%. He glanced at the system notification showing carrots at ancient medicine level with 100% growth, an effect that removes all negative impacts like poisoning disease, even irreversible wounds caused by negative factors, and unlimited preservation time. Tian happily exclaimed, This is amazing, now there's no need to worry about medical issues anymore. Looking at the lush garden, Tian thoughtfully calculated selling 70% of the food for accumulation points, keeping the rest as food reserves. The system immediately asked for confirmation to reclaim 200 kilos of radiation resistance level crops. Tian pressed, Confirm. The system notified 2,000 accumulation points earned ancient medicine level crops, X3 stored in the warehouse radiation resistance level crops, X30 kilin stored in the warehouse. Then the system congratulated the player for completing the first Reclaim Achievement Master Reclaimer Reward, Agricultural Robot. Tian muttered in surprise, the first reclaim already has a reward. He held the tiny robot, seeing it wave its hand and make a babo sound. He clicked his tongue, so tiny probably can't do much. The robot seemed to understand and frowned, glaring at him. Tian was startled, thinking, Is it glaring at me? Suddenly, the robot flew out of his hand, darting through the air, wildly slashing while shouting, Babo! Tian was amazed. How does it know what I'm thinking? Is my consciousness connected to the system sending commands directly to its head? Not bad at all. Watching Han Han sitting watching TV inside, Tian Tian thought to himself, if one farming robot is this good, earning more accumulation points to exchange for a combat robot would make Han Han absolutely safe. He glanced at the robot working efficiently and muttered, pretty effective. In the afternoon, Tian Tian called out loudly, Han Han, come eat, stop watching cartoons. He brought out a plate of golden, crispy fried chicken today. There was chicken drumstick. Han Han's eyes lit up brightly. What chicken drumstick? The girl and Little Black were both excited, Little Black's tail wagging energetically. Tian Tian smiled and congratulated, we successfully planted crops. Han Han eagerly asked her older brother, aren't we supposed to save food later? Tian Tian replied confidently, our home is already producing crops again and the food reserves from before can also be eaten. Han Han's eyes sparkled like stars shining on her older brother. Tian Tian said seriously, but if outsiders find out we have food, I'll punish you by not letting you eat rice for 3 days. Han Han was startled. Ah, no, not eating rice for 1 day is already cruel enough. Tian Tian laughed. Okay, hurry and eat. After not eating for 2 days, you must be really craving it. Han Han shouted happily. Han Han won't say anything nonsense. Tian Tian picked up a chicken drumstick and brought it to Little Black's mouth, who was craving it, saying, the first drumstick is for Little Black. Thank you for protecting Han Han and me. Han Han hugged Little Black and praised enthusiastically, Little Black is the best. But she suddenly worried, but what about Little White? I don't know if Little White is doing better. Seeing Han Han sad, Tian Tian gently patted her head to comfort her. Don't worry, Little White is seriously injured and temporarily can't see you when he recovers. I'll let him come out to play with you. Yes. He smiled kindly. So absolutely don't go up to the attic to disturb Little White's rest, got it? Han Han nodded. Yes. Tian Tian went up to the attic where Little White was still locked in a steel cage, his eyes bloodshot with fierce killing intent, growling menacingly. The system suddenly issued a warning of a potential intruder. Tian Tian silently ordered in his mind to switch to the surveillance camera screen. The system continued scanning the intruder's appearance, male, 42 years old, unarmed, low threat level. The image of a man appeared. Tian Tian startled and murmured, Uncle Nam, why is he here? He hurried outside and saw Uncle Nam standing anxiously at the gate, the cigarette in his hand, trembling. Tian Tian spoke, Uncle Nam, what's wrong? Then seeing him, Uncle Nam quickly dropped the cigarette and stammered, Boss Xiao Li. Tian Tian gently said, go ahead, tell me. Uncle Nam sighed deeply in a daze. Boss Xiao Li, I have a favor to ask of you. He paused hesitantly and explained, does your farm still have any surplus food? My home was completely robbed, no food left, and the food market is barren because of Uncle Theo's red soil problems. So could you spare me some food? Seeing Uncle Nam's haggard face, Tian Tian fell into thoughtful hesitation. Finally, he sighed and declined. Sorry, Uncle Nam, I don't have much food either. The crops I planted before were destroyed by mutations. Uncle Nam disappointedly said sadly, is that so, boss? Embarrassed, he added, that's fair. I've asked many relatives, but no one has extra food. I must have been too shameless. Tian Tian sympathized and sighed. I can give you some food, but not much. Thank you for all your help, Uncle Nam said happily, repeatedly. Thank you so much. Tian Tian handed over a bag of food and said, I only have some instant noodles, Uncle. Use this for now, and we'll figure something else out. Uncle Nam gladly accepted. All right, this is already very grateful of you. Tian Tian looked at him seriously. Good luck, Uncle Nam. Uncle Nam smiled faintly, turned away, and murmured, no need to wish us luck. Watching Uncle Nam's back fade away, Tian Tian thought to himself, this little food will only last their family 3 to 5 days. Even though I'm not short on food these days, people's hearts are hard to read. I'll keep some regular vegetables in the fridge tonight and bring more to him. Then Tian Tian took Ham Ham to Uncle Nam's house. The girl pouted, big pot, I want to stay home and watch the little fairy. Tian Tian sternly said, the mutated animals around the farm haven't been fully dealt with yet. I'm not comfortable leaving you home alone. Ham Ham curiously asked, then where are we going? Tian Tian replied, to Uncle Nam's house. The man who often helps Grandpa brings him some food. Ham Ham nodded, remembering, oh, I remember now. That enthusiastic man. His house has a few brothers who often give me candy. Tian Tian reminded, I said you're only allowed 1 piece of candy a day, right? Ham Ham nodded sheepishly. Yes, no sneaking candy. Ham Ham remembered. On the way, the scene was desolate and eerily quiet to the point of anger. Tian Tian muttered, too quiet. Not even a dog barking. The mutated livestock must have all been dealt with. He and Ham Ham got off the car holding the bag of food. The girl excitedly added a small bag of her own food. I have Ham Ham's food. Tian Tian smiled. All right. Suddenly a scream rang out. Ah, little Tian, what's wrong? Don't scare Dad. Tian Tian turned to the house next door and heard painful coughing. Inside, a young man was coughing up blood repeatedly, his face pale. Uncle Nam looked at his son with tears running down, voice trembling. Son, wasn't it better just a moment ago? Why is it this serious now? The weak young man painfully cried out, No, no, no. Tian Tian stood outside the door holding Ham Ham, quietly watching. Ham Ham whispered worriedly, Uncle Nam's son is coughing up so much blood. Is he going to die? Tian Tian quickly reassured gently, It's okay, it's okay. Ham Ham don't look anymore. Seeing the bleak situation, Tian Tian recalled the patient taken to the emergency room the other day. He murmured that the symptoms were like radiation poisoning from contaminated vegetables and food. How could it have been eaten up so fast? Suddenly, he had a flash of insight. Wait a minute. Isn't this a perfect test subject? Whether he lives or not depends on his fate. Inside Uncle Nam's house, panic as he helped his son lie down. Voice breaking. Little Tian, son, lie down quickly. The doctors at the hospital said there were no more beds. Even if there were beds, they couldn't cure him. The father and son looked at each other. Tears fell. Uncle Nam was heartbroken, as if his heart was being torn apart. What am I supposed to do? The young man's eyes red, crying and sobbing. No strength left to fight. Suddenly, something was thrown violently into the house, shattering the glass door. The object fell onto the young man's bed. Uncle Nam angrily shouted, Which crazy person threw this here? He shouted outside, Get out here, give it to me! The weak young man stopped his father. Wait a moment, Dad. He pointed to the bag that had just fallen. He whispered, Dad, look at that. Uncle Nam softened his tone. All right, son. Don't move, let me see this. Curious, he opened the bag. His eyes lit up. Oh my God, fresh vegetables and food. Inside was also a small piece of paper. Uncle Nam read, stunned, If you don't want him to die, feed him. The man angrily shouted, Sick! Even big hospitals can't cure him. He teased with a carrot. Me, looking at his son. He was desperate. What good are fresh vegetables now to my poor son? Dad is useless. The young man's tears welled up as he grabbed his father's hand. He whispered, I want to try. Staying here won't keep me alive. I want to keep living. Uncle Nam wiped away tears gently. Oh, that's right. The hospital can't cure him, so would Dad just watch you die right in front of him? He handed the carrot to his son. Then try it, son. Chew it quickly. The young man gnawed on the carrot. Suddenly, his body convulsed violently. Uncle Nam was alarmed. Son! The young man vomited blood, staining the floor red. But then his complexion gradually improved. Uncle Nam burst out laughing happily, shouting, That's great! Tian Tian stood outside, smiling with relief. The street light flickered off and then back on. He muttered, Power is back. The signal should come soon. He took out his phone and called Trung Lam, nervously waiting, but only received a message. The number you are calling is temporarily unavailable. Please call again later. In the distance, another phone rang with a complaint. Damn it, whose phone is ringing? They hurriedly picked up the phone, faces brightening. Gyeo's on. The signal has been restored. Suddenly, a cold female voice from behind sharply said, Turn it off immediately. The group burst into hearty laughter. One of them excitedly said, Once we're done here, how much food will we get? At least enough to eat for several months without worrying about hunger. Another sneered, nodding, Working with the fat guy sure went smoothly. The other cut in curiously. Tell me, what are they doing with this stuff? The one who spoke earlier shrugged briefly. Who cares? Just take the money and keep quiet. Another voice laughed mockingly. Exactly! Right or not? Meanwhile, Tian Tian was driving with Ham Ham departing. The girl sitting beside him, eyes shining with admiration, innocently praised Tian Tian. The big pot is really powerful. I saw Xiao Tian vomit so much blood, and after eating the carrot, he's already better. Ham Ham continued excitedly. Xiao Tian's skin color changed from gray to bluish so quickly. Amazing. The girl kept sitting there, continuously praising Tian Tian. Hearing that, he smiled quietly, thinking, This kid really loves cartoons. Even her imagination is so colorful like in the movies. As the car sped down the road, suddenly something shot up from the bushes, hitting the roof, causing a strong impact that made both Tian Tian and Ham Ham jump. Tian Tian frowned and looked up. He muttered, "What's wrong with the roof?" Suddenly, a disgusting, hairy arm slammed against the car window. Wild, grotesque eyes looked down from the roof, bearing sharp teeth, hungrily watching the two. It slammed the window repeatedly, growling terrifyingly, Seeing that horrifying, mutated monster, both Tian Tian and Ham Ham panicked. He turned to the girl urgently. "Ham Ham, sit tight!" The girl fearfully replied, "Okay." Tian Tian immediately hit the gas and sped toward the roadside fence. The monster grew more ferocious, his face growing pale. He quickly pulled out his gun and shouted, "Ham Ham, get down!" Then fired at the roof. The mutated ape immediately jumped off the car. Blood-boiling, Tian Tian gripped the wheel tightly and crashed hard toward the monster. While driving, he held Ham Ham to keep her from pitching forward. A strong hit threw the ape into a tree ahead. He got out of the car to check the creature's body, confirming it was completely defeated. When the ape fell to the ground, Tian Tian suddenly noticed a code engraved on its body. He frowned, confused, thinking, "What is this? Where did it come from? This place has no farms or zoos." He suddenly remembered the medicine box at his ex-girlfriend's house recently. Just then, the sky suddenly thundered loudly. Dark clouds rolled in. Brilliant lightning tore through the sky, and rain began pouring down on the lemongrass stream. Seeing the weather worsen, Tian Tian hurriedly told Ham Ham, "You stay here and watch cartoons. I have something to handle." The little girl obediently nodded. "Yes, sir." Tian Tian climbed up to the attic where Xiaobai was kept. He sat down in front of the cage, facing its terrifying eyes as if it wanted to leap at him. Sighing, Tian Tian put on gloves, and the system displayed a message. "Do you want to take out the ancient-grade carrot medicine?" He quickly chose yes, pried open Xiaobai's mouth, and shoved the carrot inside, thinking silently, "I didn't expect this medicine to neutralize the poison from radioactive vegetables." After feeding it, he held the creature tightly, eyes full of hope, murmuring, "Please be effective." Suddenly, Xiaobai's body trembled violently, and it let out a terrified howl. Downstairs, Ham Ham was watching TV, but hearing the loud thunder, she started to worry. The little girl stood up and murmured, "The thunder is so loud, I'm a bit scared." "Big Pot still hasn't come back. We can't wait any longer." Ham Ham ran upstairs and saw Tian Tian sitting there. She got a mischievous idea and tiptoed up behind him. Ham Ham suddenly shouted, "Boo!" Tian Tian was startled and turned around while the girl laughed triumphantly. "Got scared, didn't you?" While speaking, Ham Ham suddenly fell silent. Her whole body stiffened, and she couldn't speak. Her eyes panicked as they looked down to the floor where Xiaobai lay unconscious in a pool of dark red blood. Seeing this, Ham Ham's legs trembled and she collapsed. Tian Tian gasped sharply, shouting, "Ham Ham!" The girl fell into his arms, breathing erratically. He held her tightly, voice urgent, "Ham Ham, calm down." Ham Ham sobbed painfully, saying, "Why? Why Big Pot? Don't we have the carrot that can save lives? Feed Xiaobai quickly." Seeing the girl's heart-wrenching pain, Tian Tian hugged her tightly, voice low and gentle as he explained, "Carrots can't save a life already infected with mutation." Hearing this, Ham Ham burst into desperate tears, shouting, I don't want Xiaobai to die." The girl kept sobbing, calling out Xiaobai's name. Tian Tian held Ham Ham tightly, trying to restrain his own pain. Then together they carefully carried Xiaobai to a tree and buried him properly. Both Tian Tian and Ham Ham, especially the girl, were deeply engulfed in sorrow, seeing Ham quietly in pain. Tian Tian gently took her hand and said, "It's getting colder here. Let's go home." Back at home, Ham Ham sat dazed in front of the TV, her eyes empty. Tian Tian called warmly from the kitchen, "Ham Ham, come eat. I made all your favorite dishes." But the girl still sat there without responding, despite the meal prepared, seeing Ham like that, Tian Tian sighed and gently told Xiao He, stay in the room with Ham Ham. At that moment, the system notified radiation room crops are ripe, harvest in time. Tian Tian sat quietly on a pile of straw, scrolling through the system. The system kept notifying crop harvest completed. Radiation room crops, 500 kilos, ancient grade crops, 10 kil. Hearing that, Tian Tian glanced at the robot beside him and smiled, slightly continuing to browse the system. Notifications kept ringing. Points exchange, successful points exchange, successful. Tian Tian's houses were continuously upgraded, old house to level 1, standard greenhouse to level 2. Suddenly, a warning appeared. Player Li Tian Tian current defense protection level is level 3, capable only of defending against small wild creatures categorized as high risk. It is recommended to quickly establish a defense system. Hearing this, Tian Tian pondered silently. Indeed, the urgent task now is to build a safety system for the farm. With the current crop's growth points are low, production expansion can wait. He began upgrading the defense system, strengthening the wall from level 1 to level 2. An electric fence was installed on the wall. The system announced electric fence purchase successful. Then he bought a patrol radar. Tian Tian muttered, considering, not many points left, need to make some protective machines for Ham. But seeing the system prices, he frowned disappointedly. Points aren't enough. Suddenly an idea struck him, deciding to sell all the food in the warehouse. That should be enough points, then I'll earn more later. He clicked purchase, and the system immediately announced purchase successful. Soon after, a robotic dog appeared, top hunting dog, along with a robotic bird patrolling the sky. The system displayed stats: level 1 bee bird, ammo, 100 destruction, 100 speed, 5 attack power, 3 defense power, 1 attack mode gunfire. Level 2. Top hunting dog, ammo, 50 oil, 100 speed, 4 defense, 4 attack power, 5 attack type burn, shoot bite. Tian Tian began testing the machine's power, silently ordering, Honeybee warrior, shoot down the leaves. Immediately, the patrol bee in the air fired a series of bullets, tearing through each falling leaf. He watched the scene in awe, thinking silently, exactly right. He looked at the honeybee with satisfaction. Air patrol is set. Then he shifted direction, ordering the hunting dog, murmuring in his mind, let's see the real power to suppress ground fire. He shouted, hunting dog warrior, blow it up. The hunting dog immediately gathered energy, shooting a brilliant beam from its mouth, a terrifying force that shattered the rock ahead. Tian Tian was amazed at the destructive power, thinking, with this I can be more at ease. Inside the house, Han still sat dazed, her eyes filled with sadness. Tian Tian called out to Han, but she did not respond, still lost in the pain of losing Xiao Bai. Suddenly, Xiao He came over and gently licked her hand. Tian Tian smiled, brought the hunting dog in front of Han, and gently said, from now on, let him stay by your side to protect you. He smiled kindly and continued, name him, how about calling him Xiao Bai? Hearing that, Han hugged the hunting dog tightly, eyes misty with emotion, and replied, yes. Meanwhile, at a certain company, an employee hurriedly reported, the specimen is uncontrollable, it has been handled. The man holding a stack of documents spoke calmly. Number 7's index is very stable now, it can easily bite through 5mm thick steel. He looked up and asked, how is the progress over there? The employee answered somewhat worriedly. Deputy General Manager Nam is very dissatisfied because we didn't donate medical equipment. If she finds out and reports to the head office, we're done for. The man was Luong Tianvu, General Manager of Tianyuan Company. Hearing that, he sneered with contempt. She's just a girl with some background. This matter is secret. If she wants to investigate, she wouldn't even know where to start. The employee nodded, reassured, replying, yes. Luong Tianvu arrogantly instructed, have Tran Nam keep an eye on Nam Tiu, don't let her ruin our plans. The employee bowed, yes. Luong Tianvu ordered, get out. Left alone in his office, he smiled mysteriously, murmuring, there will surely be great fortune. Outside, Nam Tiu stormed towards Tianvu's office, angrily shouting, where is Luong Tianvu? An employee ran after her, trying to stop her. Deputy General Manager General Manager Luong is not at the company. But Nam Tiu did not stop barging into the room, leaving the nearby staff confused. Deputy General Manager Nam said, you're making it difficult for us by doing this. As soon as she entered, Nam Tiu growled, Luong Tianvu, what are you thinking? You're the Deputy General Manager of Tianyuan Company. She couldn't hold back her anger. The entire medical system of Nam City is paralyzed. As a medical enterprise, you should lead your staff to cooperate with hospitals to donate medicine and equipment, instead of being busy researching some animals. Contrary to her fury, Luong Tianvu remained calm and unsurprised, coldly replying, "Deputy General Manager Nam, this is the General Manager's office. Your sudden intrusion is inappropriate." He stood up, voice more serious. "I'm a businessman. All actions are for profit. With today's medical-level diseases worldwide pose no real impact." Nyam Tiu was stunned, repeating, "What?" Luong Tianvu approached, voice full of calculation. "You're also a shareholder entitled to dividends. Imagine if we research a solution, how great the benefits would be." Nyam Tiu sneered, "So General Manager Luong's research has some breakthrough then?" Suddenly her pendant emitted a beeping sound. She curled her lip sarcastically. "Even the federal government VM Huang hasn't had news about the special medicine, so I have to visit the lab to see for myself." Luong Tianvu smirked mockingly in response. "Are you joking? How could it be that fast?" "Deputy General Manager Nham, if you cooperate and add more manpower to this project, progress will surely accelerate." Nyam Tiu kept a cold, sober attitude, replying, "I'll visit the lab shortly to check the progress. We need a thorough survey to coordinate the work properly." Tianvu sneered with the hidden meaning, "Welcome, I'll arrange someone to accompany you." Nyam Tiu snorted lightly and replied curtly, "I'm leaving, no need to see me off." She turned and stepped outside, the fire of anger still smoldering inside her. Nyam Tiu's staff hurriedly reported, "President Nham, the technical team says you spend too little time in the office, so they could only do a rough scan. But the entrance to the secret laboratory might be in there." Hearing this, she muttered angrily, "Yeah, that old fox." She asked aloud, "Has the test subject we captured confessed yet?" The staff replied, "Not yet, ma'am. Every time they enter, they blindfold them. But we have retrieved the access card." Hearing the promising news, Nam Tiu proudly praised, "Very good." The staff handed over the laboratory access card. She held the card, her eyes flashing as she thought, "Besides these places, where else could it be? If what they say is true, the most dangerous place is the safest one." Nyam Tiu entered the laboratory. A man stepped forward and introduced himself. "I am Boy Tu, your guide." He smiled and continued, "I will take you on a tour." Nyam Tiu nodded. "All right then, Director Boy, please check the lab's progress first." He replied, "Sure, please follow me this way." Boy Tu led her to a glass enclosure and introduced, "This is number 7, the only entity that didn't explode during the experiments. Its strength increased it tenfold, but unlike the failed samples, it doesn't vomit blood, though it still poses a risk of attack." Suddenly, a staff member rushed in, shouting, "Director, something's wrong!" This person whispered something into Boy Tu's ear. After hearing it, his face went pale, and he asked anxiously, "What?" The staff continued whispering worriedly, "We have no way." "Sir, please check what's happening immediately." Seeing their panic, Nam Tiu glanced over, a smug smile curling her lips. Boy Tu quickly spoke tactfully to dismiss Nam Tiu. "Sorry, there's an urgent matter I can't continue explaining. I will have another colleague accompany you." Nyam Tiu calmly replied, "That's fine, it's just a tour. I'll just have a look around by myself and then leave." But Boy Tu shook his head politely, refusing, "I'm afraid that's against the rules." Nyam Tiu smiled faintly. "This whole area is under surveillance cameras, aren't you worried?" Another staff member urged the director, "Over here, Nam Tiu is taking the opportunity to speak. Hurry up, don't miss the urgent matter." They hurriedly replied, "All right, we will always keep her safety in mind." The group hurried away, leaving Nam Tiu alone. She quietly pressed the device in her ear, and the technical team on the other side received the order to act. A man pressed a button, the camera screen went blank. He reported the feed was blocked. Nam Tiu responded, "Okay, scan the secret door immediately." She quickly located it at the northeast corner of the wall. The team reported, "The wall is hollow, pressing down should be correct. You have 30 minutes. Nam Tiu found the entrance and whispered, "Found it." She swiped the card just taken. The secret door immediately opened. Before her was a pitch-dark room that left Nam Tiu stunned, unable to believe what she was seeing. The technical team anxiously asked over the comm, "President Nam, how's the situation?" Nyam Tiu replied with a deep but cold voice, "More brutal than expected." They quickly asked, "Should we request company headquarters to intervene?" Nyam Tiu shook her head firmly. "No, wait a bit longer." She stood before the horrific experiments, unable to believe her eyes. In the secret room, the people were transformed beyond human shape, their bodies twisted and deformed. Looking at the name tags below, Nam Tiu clenched her teeth and cursed, "Bastards." Meanwhile, at Thien Thien's side, the system announced, "Your radioactive corn is ripe." Ham Ham looked at the ripe corn eagerly, her eyes shining with desire. Thin Tin smiled and called, "Ham Ham, come help me harvest, then we'll eat." The girl responded excitedly, "Yes." Holding the corn, Ham Ham said enthusiastically, "Later, I want to grill corn in the big pot." Hearing this, Thin Tin laughed loudly. "So fast are you already hungry?" Ham Ham replied sadly, "So hungry I don't have the strength to husk the corn anymore." Thin Tin gently advised, "Take it slow. Come here, I'll make buttered grilled corn for you." Ham Ham cheered, "Yes, sir." They grilled corn together, the fragrant butter aroma spreading. Ham Ham looked at the plate of corn longingly and said, "If I keep eating like this, I might turn into a fat pig." Thin Tin thought to himself, "Indeed, Ham Ham's recent appetite might even surpass mine." He laughed and replied, "This special produce helps boost physical strength. Stronger physique means higher nutritional needs as well. Besides, you're still growing. No matter how much you eat, you won't get fat." Ham Ham nodded innocently. "Okay." Tian Tian looked at Ham Ham data about the girl appearing before his eyes. He thought to himself, eating radioactive food for a few days, our body stats, both mine and Ham Ham's, have increased significantly. At this rate, I wonder if we'll turn into giant Kongs. Imagining Ham Ham with bulging muscles, Tian Tian laughed to himself. "My cute little sister. No need to overthink." Ham Ham was still busy munching on corn, murmuring, "So good." Tian Tian teased, "Want me to grill some spicy ones for you?" Looking at her, he thought, "With this land, I can support Ham Ham's huge appetite no matter what." Suddenly, the system notified him of a visitor. Tian Tian muttered in surprise, "Who would come at this time?" Looking out the gate, he saw Xiao Tian standing there holding a bag of food. Tian Tian wondered, "Isn't this food from me to him?" He warmly stepped out to greet Xiao Tian. "Ah, why are you here?" Xiao Tian smiled brightly, handing over the bag. "Boss Xiao Li, a few days ago, you gave my family some instant noodles. My father said we should repay you. We just got some supplies and brought them as a gift to you." Tian Tian looked at the bag, thinking this was the food he gave to their family, but it's fine, it's not helping the wrong person. He smiled with satisfaction and asked where he got the supplies from. Xiao Tian shyly scratched his head and said, "Honestly, I found it in the yard. Probably relatives or some kind-hearted person secretly brought it." He awkwardly continued, "Anyway, besides repaying you, I want to ask for a favor." Tian Tian nodded. "Go ahead." Xiao Tian hesitated. "I heard a supply store just opened in the outskirts of Onam still has stock. I want to borrow your truck to buy some." Tian Tian didn't hesitate. "Fine, I'll drive." But Xiao Tian hesitated. "Here's the thing, I don't have a driver's license. That store is in a remote area." He was embarrassed and stammered, "That's not far." Tian Tian caught his meaning, raised an eyebrow, and asked, "So after all this time, do you want to borrow the truck or the driver?" Xiao Tian smiled sheepishly and replied, "I won't trouble you long. Please, boss Xiao Li, help me out." Hearing this, Tian Tian thought about being swamped with farm work. He had planned to check the supply station in a few days anyway. Going earlier is fine, I can take him along. He remembered the incredible strength of the hunting dog and reassured himself that with Xiao Bai protecting home, Ham Ham alone would be safe with its strength. It could defeat an entire squad without getting tired. He said, "All right, since it's a familiar connection, but I have to be back before noon to cook for Ham Ham." Xiao Tian happily said repeatedly, "Thanks, thank you for the trouble." Tian Tian nodded. "Wait here. I'll drive out right away." Xiao Tian enthusiastically responded, Okay, be careful." Tian Tian turned back and instructed Ham Ham, "Be good at home. Don't open the door for anyone. I'll be back soon." The girl nodded confidently. "Yes, Big Pot, you can rest assured. Da Bai is really powerful." Tian Tian was surprised. "Why is it Da Bai now?" Ham Ham excitedly said, "Because it's an upgraded version. I tried it. Boom, it blew up a big rock." Hearing that, Tian Tian seriously said, "I see. From now on, only use Da Bai in emergencies. Otherwise, it's too dangerous." Ham Ham nodded with a big smile. "Okay, I won't blow up rocks for fun anymore." Tian Tian patted her head and laughed. "All right, Xiaoten and I will go to the supply station and come back soon to buy you candy." Ham Ham, understanding, said, "Xiao Tian is here." She went to say hello. Tian Tian pinched her cheek teasingly. Don't show off da bai in front of outsiders. Ham Ham pouted grumpily. I know. I'm 6 years old, not a kid anymore. At home, no one talks to me except Big Pot. You're leaving early just to cook for me. Ham Ham was left behind, annoyed, watching the car, and grumbled, Big Pot stinks, I haven't even finished saying goodbye. Then she sulked and went inside muttering, might as well watch cartoons. Meanwhile, Tian Tian drove Xiao Tian a bit further, thinking as he drove, that Ham Ham girl really can't keep her mouth shut. Suddenly, Xiao Tian asked, Boss Xiao Li, is it okay for Ham Ham to be home alone? Things outside are chaotic now. I'm afraid bad guys will target the farm. Ham Ham will be in danger. Tian Tian calmly replied, my ragged farm isn't worth targeting. It has no money and no supplies. Xiao Tian curiously asked, then Boss Xiao Li, don't you leave any weapons for Ham Ham to protect herself? Tian Tian laughed and said, Ham Ham is only 7 years old. Even if she had weapons, she wouldn't know how to use them. Nowhere is safer than the farm. He smirked slyly and said, besides, my farm has an electric fence. Who would dare break in? Xiao Tian laughed loudly and said, then I can rest easy. He was silent for a moment, then suddenly took out his phone and sent a message. Tian Tian keenly glanced over and noticed Xiao Tian was also guarded looking back at him. Xiao Tian quickly put away his phone and forced a smile, saying, I'm afraid I don't have enough money to borrow some from you. Tian Tian narrowed his eyes, briefly suspicious, but said nothing. Meanwhile, at home, Han Han and Xiao He were excitedly watching TV. On the screen, the Rainbow Battle Team shouted, Ning Mong Huang super evolved in yellow. Han Han was engrossed in the cartoon, excitedly yelling, that's right, Xiao Tian also changed colors. She turned to pinch Xiao He's cheek and asked, could it be? She excitedly continued, could it be that Brother Xiao Tian is also a member of the Rainbow Battle Team? The little kid eagerly added, last time me and Big Pot saw him, he was green. This time he turned pink. Han Han innocently imagined Xiao Tian sparkling with colors and giggled. Suddenly, Tian Tian took out a wad of cash and handed it to Xiao Tian, saying, take this. Xiao Tian looked dazed and stared at Tian Tian for a moment. He shook his head awkwardly and said, no. Boss Xiao Li has already helped my family a lot. How dare I accept money from you? Tian Tian decisively shoved the money into Xiao Tian's hand firmly, saying, take it. Xiao Tian hesitated, but eventually accepted it. Tian Tian smiled and said, all right, no more talk. I still have to drive. Xiao Tian tightly clutched the money, his voice emotional. Boss Xiao Li, I will definitely repay your kindness. A voice from the navigation system in the car announced 500 meters ahead, continue straight. At 300 meters ahead, when the system announced 200 meters to the turn, Xiao Tian's face suddenly turned pale. When the system announced 100 meters to turn right, then ahead, turn left. Xiao Tian suddenly grabbed Tian Tian's steering wheel and forced a smile, saying, Boss Xiao Li, the right side seems to be a dead end. Let's take a left around it. Tian Tian frowned in confusion at Xiao Tian, but continued speeding forward. Suddenly, Xiao Tian slammed his hand down and exclaimed, that's not right. Tian Tian asked in surprise, I drive this road often. It's the main road of Zhan village. How could it become a dead end without a natural disaster? Where did you hear that from? Xiao Tian stammered. A friend told me. Tian Tian looked at him sharply, his voice cold. Which friend called you? I want to hear. But Xiao Tian tried to cover up and said, Boss Xiao Li, please don't ask. I'm not trying to harm you. We have to change course now or it will be too late. His face darkened as he almost pleaded, trust me this once. Seeing Xiao Tian, panic-stricken Tian Tian was briefly unsettled. Finally, he swerved and sped off down another road. Elsewhere, a group of people were monitoring Tian Tian on a screen and saw him change direction. Tran Nam angrily slammed the screen and growled, damn it! Something's definitely wrong. Someone sitting behind nervously asked, Brother Nam, what do we do now? Tran Nam pressed a device in his ear and calmly replied, yeah, luckily Lao Si prepared in advance. Tran Nam immediately issued orders with authority. The target is confirmed. Move quickly. We must stop Director Luong. Then he stressed, capture him alive. Upon receiving the order, the guards responded in unison, Tran Nam. He turned decisively and commanded, "Block him. Team 2 coordinate to pin him from front and rear. I want to see if they grow wings today, they still can't escape." On the other side, Tian Tian was speeding like the wind, his face tense as he loudly asked Xiao Tian, "What's really going on? Tell me now." Xiao Tian, panicking and holding his head, stammered with regret, Sorry, I betrayed you." He was ashamed, tears streaming as he continued, "I was momentarily fooled, but I had no choice. They've captured my father. I'm really terrible." Seeing Xiao Tian like this, Tian Tian tried to calm him with a composed voice. "Calm down first. Who are they? What do they want?" Only then did Xiao Tian hesitate and reveal the whole truth. "They are from Tianyuan. They know you have the antidote, so they forced me to trick you into leaving the farm. While you were away, they captured Han Han to threaten you to work for them." Hearing this, Tian Tian was stunned, staring at Xiao Tian in horror, shouting in pain, "She's only 6 years old. If you wanted to deal with me, fine, but you dared to kidnap a 6-year-old child." Tian Tian couldn't believe it, her eyes fixed on Tio Tian. Then her voice trembled as she said, "I didn't know they would use my father to threaten me. There's really no other way." Tian Tian started to panic, glancing toward the glass door and realizing the group had caught up closely behind. Tio Tian panicked and shouted, "They're right behind us!" Tian Tian angrily growled, "Shut up!" His face darkened as he realized the whole truth. He turned to Tio Tian, his voice full of resentment. "So those questions you asked earlier were all to probe me. You wanted to know if the farm had security or not." The image of Ham Ham appeared in Tian Tian's mind, and he clenched his teeth angrily, questioning, "You were messing with your phone earlier to warn the others, right?" At Tian Tian's farm, Tian Yun's group had started to act. They prepared excavators ready to smash everything. Tio Tian hesitated, ashamed, and said, I'm sorry. You have to give them the medicine. There are too many of them, we can't escape, please." But Tian Tian coldly replied, "Tio Tian, I'm very disappointed. I never wanted to drive this to the end, but I didn't expect you to dare lay a hand on Ham Ham." Tio Tian knelt before Tian Tian, crying, "Sorry. After they took my father, I regretted it, but I have no way out anymore. They've caught up, please hand over the medicine." Tian Tian unleashed his strength, gripping the steering wheel tightly, and roared, "I'll settle my debt with you later." With eyes burning with hatred, he declared, "However, unfortunately, not one of them will survive leaving the farm." Recalling the day Tio Tian recovered, Uncle Nam joyfully hugged his son, his voice choked up. "Finally, you're well, you scared me to death." Tio Tian happily replied, "Dad, I didn't think I could live on." The two hugged on the bed, talking in happiness. Uncle Nam smiled but couldn't hide his reproach. "This boy, what kind of things have you been eating?" Tio Tian embarrassedly replied, "I was really so hungry I couldn't stand it, so I took an apple from the storage. It didn't look contaminated, so I ate it." Uncle Nam frowned sternly. "Do you really want to die, huh? You even dare eat things from the storage. Those have all touched the ground." Hearing this, Tio Tian hesitated, his voice low. "We've been eating thin porridge for days now. I just wanted to try my luck once. Should I just let myself starve to death sooner or later?" Uncle Nam happily patted his son's back loudly. "Don't talk nonsense. I've managed to get some food." He grabbed Tio Tian's hand, his eyes bright, continuing, "Not only that, our family also received a whole sack of food dropped from the sky, and Tian Thao saved your life. Surely it's divine protection, not letting you suffer so much and miraculously saving you." Uncle Nam beamed proudly at Tio Tian. "Out there, many people died from eating poisoned vegetables. Only you survived. Soon we have to go to the ancestral altar to give thanks to the ancestors for protecting you." Hearing this, Tio Tian was a bit stunned, thinking silently, if gods really exist, would they let such terrible misfortune happen? This food and medicine must have been given anonymously by someone who didn't want to reveal themselves. But Uncle Nam didn't think much, still cheerfully asked, "Are you hungry?" Tio Tian didn't answer, his eyes fixed on the sack of food, silently blaming, "We can only endure hunger to maintain basic survival. Heaven is really unfair." While Uncle Nam happily said, "With this little food, I'll cook you something good. You just recovered, you have to nourish yourself well." Suddenly, Tio Tian jumped up, startled, as if remembering something, then rushed outside. Seeing that Uncle Nam anxiously called out, "Where are you going?" Tio Tian hurriedly replied, "I'll be back soon." Uncle Nam, still uneasy, shouted, "You just got better stay home and rest." But Tu Tien ignored him firmly, said, "Don't worry, Dad." Uncle Nam helplessly shouted, "This boy," then watched his son's figure rush out into the night. Tu Tien ran straight to Mr. Mew's house, knocking urgently on the door. Mr. Mew, annoyed, shouted, come in, stop knocking, who is it?" calling the devil. Tu Tien gasped hastily, "Mr. Mew, it's Tu Tien." Mr. Mew immediately became alert. "Tu Tien, oh my, what do you want?" Tu Tien, covered in blood, quickly explained. No, my house was robbed, I want to check your camera." Hearing that, Mr. Mew was surprised. "Huh?" Tu Tien pointed up to the camera above, continuing, "It's that one. I remember it's a 360-degree camera that doesn't need electricity, right?" Mr. Mew nodded. "That's right." Xiao Tian immediately pleaded, "Let me see it. That thief made me end up like this. I have to find him." "Yes," Mr. Mew softened and agreed. "Then hurry up. I'm about to go to sleep." He went inside to check the camera. Mr. Mew thought to himself that this camera was positioned to capture the gateway to his house. Tense and curious, he wondered who it could be, as the screen clearly showed Tian Tian's vehicle. Seeing this, Xiao Tian was stunned. The license plate showed returning home. Uncle Nam was still waiting at the door, worried, asking where he had been working. Xiao Tian replied without any happiness, "Dad, you know who saved me now?" Uncle Nam was curious. "Who?" Xiao Tian said dejectedly. "It was Boss Xiao Li. I just checked the camera. The timing of his delivery truck arriving and leaving matches when I was rescued." Uncle Nam was delighted. "Boss Xiao Li is a good man. He not only gave us food, but also saved your life." But Xiao Tian was not grateful. He was deep in thought. He spoke up. "Dad, do you know that the Tian Run Corporation is spending a lot to find a special medicine?" Uncle Nam was shocked. "What, kid, what do you want to do?" "Yes," Xiao Tian replied firmly. "I just want us to live more comfortably in this situation. How long can this little food last? When it's gone, what will we do?" Hearing this, Uncle Nam angrily shouted, "You!" But Xiao Tian interrupted. "Do you still hope Boss Xiao Li will keep sharing food with us?" Uncle Nam angrily slapped Xiao Tian hard and yelled, "You! You want to repay kindness with hatred. Why was I born with a son like you?" The slap was so hard that Xiao Tian bled from his nose and mouth. Uncle Nam roared, "Dare to do that and I'll break your legs, got it?" But Xiao Tian remained firm with a steely voice. "Dad, in this situation, don't you realize yet? If we want to live, we can only rely on ourselves." He continued with a cold gaze, "I'm just someone who won't rely on heaven or earth." Back to the present, Tian Tian was being closely followed by those men. He panicked, his heart tangled like a mess. "No, they are too close." Tian Tian gripped the steering wheel tightly, trying to lose them, but to no avail. Ahead, the group had completely blocked the road. He exclaimed in horror, "This is bad!" Still, Tian Tian didn't give up, desperately swerving to avoid them. But when another group blocked the front, he knew there was no escape. In desperation, Tian Tian pulled Xiao Tian out of the car, tightening his grip around his neck. The men saw this, and a voice spoke up, "Are you Li Tian Tian? Let me introduce myself. I'm Tran Nam from the Tian Run Pharmaceutical Company. Using this special method to drag you out is really embarrassing." Tran Nam got out of the car, smiling smugly, continuing, "I know you have the special antidote for acute poisoning, so we want to cooperate. You give us the medicine we support with money and manpower, and we all profit." Tian Tian sneered coldly. "What if I refuse?" Tran Nam laughed arrogantly. "Right now you only have two choices. The first is you cooperate voluntarily, and we all agree to make money together." He paused. Then the men behind him simultaneously drew knives. Tran Nam continued, "The second is we disable you. Medicine. We have ways to make you talk." Tian Tian quickly responded, "I only have one pill of that acute treatment medicine, and I already gave it to him to let him escape, no loss to me. Really sorry about that." While speaking, he secretly observed the men, thinking to himself that they had no guns. Xiao Tian is now just a useless pawn to them. If they had guns, they would have shot to disable any part of us. No need to stand here and waste time. Hello, Tran Nam used his phone to threaten, "Looks like you haven't seen a coffin or shed tears yet." In front of Tian Tian, he coldly said on the phone, "Hello, have you arrived at the farm gate? Attack, capture that kid, and feed him some poison." Tran Nam looked at Tian Tian, smugly laughing loudly. So what if your perimeter fence has an electric wire? All my men are veterans well prepared. Facing Tien Run, you should consider who you really are. His tone was threatening. Cooperate obediently and we'll make money together. Suddenly, Tran Nam froze as Tian Tian emitted a terrifying aura that made the men recoil in fear. He angrily lifted Xiao Tian up. What I hate most is someone daring to threaten me. Tran Nam was surprised a flicker of fear in his heart. How could a servant have such a terrifying look in his eyes? Tian Tian stared straight at him and declared, "However, you should consider yourself lucky you didn't come to the farm yourself. At least here I can let you live a little longer." Though a bit hesitant, Tran Nam still tried to keep up a threatening appearance. "Stop bragging. Cooperate obediently, and both you and that little girl can live." But in his heart he thought, with so many people on my side, what's there to fear from him? Tian Tian still tightly gripped Xiao Tian to intimidate. Tran Nam was unreasonable, drew a knife and shouted, "Not cooperating, huh?" He ordered, "Aim for his joints and tendons, just keep him alive." The group of thugs aggressively approached Tian Tian. At the same time on the farm, they used an excavator to smash the walls of Tian Tian's house. Han Han inside the house looked at the display screen, angrily shouted, "Too much! Is this how you let people watch cartoons peacefully? These bad guys really want to smash their heads in." Meanwhile, on Tian Tian's side, he was still facing a whole crowd of fierce enemies. But Tian Tian was unshaken, lunged forward, and delivered a powerful kick to one guy's stomach. Surrounded by countless enemies, he still held the upper hand. Tran Nam stood aside, witnessing Tian Tian's tremendous strength, worry starting to rise in his heart. His face unconsciously frowned, eyes clearly showing fear as he watched his men get beaten to pieces, rolling on the ground. Tran Nam couldn't hide his panic, thinking in shock, "What the hell is this?" He tried to calm down, but felt even more uneasy inside. The spy clearly reported that there were only lethal weapons on the farm. Just lead him outside and capture him alive. He held binoculars and observed toward the farm. Suddenly he saw smoke rising, rocks exploding in that area. Tran Nam startled, muttering, "This farm isn't quite right." He continued watching and realized the explosion was too far away, not matching the initial judgment that just leading Tian Tian outside would be enough. He glanced at Tian Tian and saw him still enthusiastically beating the thugs. Tran Nam couldn't help but be stunned. A farmer is this strong. Meanwhile, Tian Tian was excited about his increasing strength, thinking happily, "I didn't expect the physical enhancement from the radiation-resistant farm produce to be this incredible. After only a few days, my body stats have increased significantly." The system clearly showed not only strength and speed, but also bone density and nerve reaction speed had improved remarkably. Tian Tian threw a strong punch to a guy's face, knocking him down. He chuckled to himself. "Some people take the sword to master their path, some take fists, and here I am mastering it through food." Suddenly he noticed someone sneaking up behind him. With sharp reflexes, Tian Tian quickly dodged. Unable to hide his excitement, he jumped back to create distance, thinking, "I've checked enough of my body stats, time to stop playing." Suddenly Tian Tian pulled out a gun, pointed it straight at the group, and smiled triumphantly. Tran Nam saw the gun. His worry could no longer be hidden, thinking, "This is bad. I thought the most he had was a pig-killing gun, but this guy actually has a handgun." Yet he still tried to threaten the brat. "I have powerful people behind me. You can't mess with me. If you touch me, think about the consequences." Though his words were tough, Tran Nam silently calculated that as long as he was near the gun, it was just a useless piece of metal. Tian Tian calmly replied, "That's right." Without hesitation, he fired and took down the remaining men. He coldly said, "You still have some use, but the others don't need to be kept alive." Tran Nam's men fell one by one, screaming in pain. Tran Nam angrily shouted, "Damn it!" Seeing the situation was critical, he ran into the forest, thinking to hide among the trees to reduce the bullets coming at him. Tian Tian changed direction and fired toward Tran Nam, but he quickly hid behind a rock, temporarily avoiding the bullets, thinking Tian Tian was out of ammo. Tran Nam was secretly relieved, stopped and thought, "He's out of bullets, good." But he didn't know Tian Tian had jumped up above the rock, opened his system screen, and pulled out another gun from his bag. Meanwhile, Tran Nam below was still smugly thinking, "In this terrain, after distracting me and ambushing, I still have a chance to win." Suddenly, Tran Nam felt something was off, instinctively looked up and was horrified to find Tian Tian standing behind him, gun pointed straight at his head. He panicked, trembling voice, You still have another gun. At the same time at the plantation, the intruders were being completely crushed, attacked by Ham's rock shooting machine, falling to the ground one after another with none left standing. The system announced coldly, According to the Little Master's orders, Ham has blown the head off the last intruder. Then the system asked if the Little Master had any further instructions. Ham thought worriedly to herself, If Big Nurturer returns and sees this scene, will he think Ham is a violent child and dislike her anymore? The girl shook her head, telling herself, I must not let Big Nurturer find out. It would have been better to deal with them outside. But on the other side, the group had been completely defeated. Meanwhile, at the place where Tien and Tran Nam were, they were being tortured to the point of losing all human form. He weakly begged in a hoarse voice, Tien, I shouldn't have used children to threaten you. Please spare me, don't torture me anymore. Tran Nam's hands were covered in blood as Tien pressed him against the rock wall. The young man's voice was cold as ice. Tran Nam stammered in fear, I'll tell everything. He continued to beg, Please spare me this once. Tien sternly replied, Sparing you is impossible, but I can make your death quick or keep you alive a little longer to heal before continuing the torture. After all, I have enough time and bullets. Hearing this, Tran Nam was desperate with nothing left to resist. Tien asked coldly, Who is the boss behind you? Tran Nam answered weakly, The CEO of Tien Yuan Luong Tien Vu. Tien's eyes flashed with anger. So it's that bastard who deliberately raised drug prices. No wonder he wouldn't hesitate to use such methods. He continued to inquire, Besides Luong Tien Vu, is there anyone else involved now? Tran Nam trembled and replied, He is in charge of this. He has completely sealed off the information very carefully. People like us and even other managers in the company don't know. Recently, he conflicted with a deputy general manager trying to use this to boost his reputation and take credit in front of the company, preparing to oust that deputy from Tien Yuan. Tien was surprised. A big company like Tien Yuan causing chaos in Nam City is just a branch of an even bigger corporation. He slapped Tran Nam's face hard and shouted, Snap out of it! Did Luong Tien Vu report this to the head company? Tran Nam, weakly lying on the ground, replied, No. That deputy seems to have backing at the head company, so Luong Tien Vu dared not report it. Because if the news leaked, all his plans would be ruined. Tien thought silently. The information hasn't leaked yet, so handling this won't be too difficult. He asked one last time. One last thing, order them to take me to meet Luong Tien Vu. On the other side, Luong Tien Vu's phone rang and he picked up asking, Mission completed. The voice on the other end replied, Yes, we've controlled the target, but he insists on meeting you and that fake name before cooperating. Luong Tien Vu complained angrily, You're useless. You can't even handle a small matter like this and still have to make me come in person. Tran Nam responded, Sorry, his mouth was too stubborn. We lost a few brothers. Luong Tien Vu nodded without suspicion. All right. Take him to warehouse number 78. I want to see for myself. After hanging up, Luong Tien Vu angrily threw the phone aside, muttering, Damn it, hanging up first again. Wait until I get to headquarters, I'll replace you immediately. He hurriedly set off. Back with Tran Nam, he had been tightly bound by Tien. The words just now were forced out of Tran Nam by Tien. He led Tran Nam and another man onto a vehicle heading straight to warehouse number 78. The other man politely said, Thank you, young Master Lai. Tien casually replied, Junam just happened to be convenient. Don't take it too seriously. He quickly sped away. The other man hesitated. Sorry about that. When they arrived, Tien dragged Le Tran Nam into the warehouse. Luong Tien Vu was already waiting, still unaware of anything unusual, proudly said, You're here, just you, Tran Nam, and the messenger. Where is he? Junam was tightly bound, his head pressed down to the ground. Little Tien spoke up. The messenger was knocked out in the car. Brother Nam had a stomachache and went to the restroom. He was worried you'd wait too long, so he told me to bring you here first. Hearing this, Tien Vu grumbled in irritation. So slow. Actually, the one tied up was Tran Nam, but Tien Vu didn't know yet. He laughed loudly with pride. Tortured like this and still not talking? Wasn't the beating hard enough? You say whatever you want here and I'll let you go. Chunam's mouth was tightly gagged, silently crying with tears streaming down his heart, screaming not to speak, knowing they would never let them leave alive. Seeing Uncle Nam squirm, Thien Vu angrily shouted, "What the hell is with this old bastard?" He kicked hard, causing Uncle Nam to fall to the ground, growling, "Behave yourself!" Little Thien, witnessing the scene, was so scared she couldn't say a word. On the other side, Thien Vu's men continued to trample and torture Uncle Nam. Thien Vu smugly ordered, "What are you still standing there for? Bring him here, you useless trash are of no use." Suddenly, Thien came rushing from nowhere and delivered a strong kick to Thien Vu's face. The henchmen were stunned and shouted in unison, "What?" Thien kicked Thien Vu to the ground, pointed a gun at his head, and coldly said, "This wall is quite hard to break through." The henchmen panicked and shouted, "Boss!" Thien barked, "Don't move, don't come over here." Thien Vu looked up in shock and asked, "Why are you—" "Where is Tran Nam? Damn it, could Tran Nam have betrayed me? If you dare touch me, I'll have them kill that old man immediately." Thien calmly replied, "How did someone with your brain become the manager of Thien Yun? Are all your skills rooted in shady dealings? Your loyal subordinates are right there." Thien Vu turned to look at the gagged man and growled threateningly, "If that kid dares to touch me, I'll have them kill the old man." Thien remained calm and naturally said, "Killing you is still a gain compared to someone unimportant." Thien Vu panicked and screamed, "Help me!" Little Thien cried out in fear, "Boss Tu Li, please don't, I beg you." Thien Vu's henchmen were also in chaos. Boss Thien Vu shouted, "Kill him!" But Thien quickly squeezed the trigger, shooting down each henchman. They fell one by one. He coldly asked, "Are you stupid?" When Thien rescued Uncle Nam, both Uncle Nam and Little Thien knelt trembling and thanked Boss Tu Li. Thank you for not blaming us for the terrible things my worthless son has done. I know these apologies are useless, but thank you." Little Thien bowed, his head voice full of regret and apology. Thien responded firmly, "Uncle Nam in my place bowing like that isn't common. You owe me nothing." Little Thien, you don't need to keep apologizing either. If you want peace of mind, give up that idea while it's still early. You don't deserve forgiveness. Thien's face darkened. "I'm not touching you simply because it's unnecessary." He turned to the others behind him and asked what to do next. "Surely you understand." They hurriedly interrupted, "We don't know anything, don't worry, but Boss Tu Li, how do you want to handle this here?" Thien replied, "You guys go carry those people and pile them up." They hurried. Okay. He continued, "I'm going to drive." Hearing this, Uncle Nam fearfully asked, "What do you mean by this?" Thien calmly said, "What else? Of course we're going to destroy the evidence." The group began loading the bodies onto the vehicle. Little Thien turned to his father, voice trembling. "Dad, does Boss Tu Li want to cremate the bodies?" Uncle Nam replied in a low voice, "I think so. This place is secluded, so it's less likely to be discovered." He began dragging the bodies of the fallen. Suddenly, Tran Nam clenched a sharp piece of glass and rushed forward, slashing straight at Uncle Nam. Luckily, Uncle Nam quickly dodged to the side, only getting the glass blade stuck in his thigh. Tran Nam sneered proudly. "Missed me." Little Thien screamed in horror. Tran Nam raised the glass shard high and shouted, "Anyway, I only have one way to die. Before I die, I'll take down one of my backers with me." He swung his arm to stab down, but Little Thien risked himself to block, and the glass blade pierced straight into Little Thien's chest. Uncle Nam was stunned and screamed in pain. At that moment, Thien drove the car up and crashed hard into Tran Nam, pinning him against the wall. Thien quickly got out of the car and ran to Little Thien's side. Uncle Nam held his son, crying silently. "Don't, son." Little Thien weakly whispered, "Boss Tu Li, my father was right. I'm useless. I can't be good, and I don't dare be bad." He paused, voice trembling. "Because of my selfishness, I put my father in danger like this. I deserve it. I give my life to him. Finally, it's peaceful." Little Thien tightly clenched his hand, still trembling, and continued, Thank you on my behalf. Ham handed Thin a candy and smiled weakly. That's the candy I secretly put in the dinner, right? I could tell just by looking that it's something the kid likes. Thin nodded. Little Thin whispered a thank you. It's very sweet. Then he fainted. Overcome with pain, Uncle Nam's eyes red and full of tears. Suddenly he jumped up and walked to where Tran Nam lay motionless. Thin looked on in shock. Uncle Nam raised the glass shard and stabbed hard into Tran Nam, roaring with hatred. Then both of them set fire burning down warehouse number 78. Thin and Uncle Nam stepped outside, leaving the flames blazing behind them. Elsewhere, Nam Tu was in his office when he heard an urgent call. President Nam, something big has happened. Nam Tu calmly replied in a deep, steady voice. What's the panic about? Don't rush, take your time explaining. The staff hurriedly reported, We traced information about Luong Tien Vu. He's dead. Nam Tu was stunned and stepped toward the bodies, asking, Have you verified their identities yet? So, the staff answered yes, although the bodies were severely burned, we managed to get DNA from teeth. The report confirms it's Luong Tien Vu and Tran Nam. The other bodies in the warehouse have no records and no one reported them missing. The police lack manpower to confirm identities. Nam Tu frowned. It doesn't matter whether this was intentional murder or accidental. The staff reported, it was intentional. All these people had bullet fragments in their bodies and the fire started from a car. Probably after killing them, the perpetrators burned the car to cover their tracks. Hearing this, Nam Tu's heart was troubled. She examined the bodies, noticing signs of torture before death, thinking in horror. Who did they offend to end up like this? She pulled the white cloth over a body and pondered, if the target was Luong Tien Vu tonight, I'll have to open 2 bottles of wine to celebrate. But if it was Tien Nguyen, then he's my enemy. Suddenly, the system notified a failed attempt to buy a bullet explosion button. Tien called out to Uncle Nam. Are you sure you want revenge? Uncle Nam clenched his teeth, his eyes resolute. Yes, even if it costs this old man his life. Then Tien gave Uncle Nam a small item and said, Stick this on. He placed it on the back of his neck and said in a low voice, The traces can be dealt with, but I can't guarantee Tien Nguyen won't find clues about me. This is a reminder about little Tien's matter. Don't let it happen again. Uncle Nam nodded firmly. Of course, I don't want any explosions either, rest assured, Boss Little Lie. Meanwhile, at the farm, Ham was happily playing outside. Tien called out, Ham. He stepped forward and asked, What are you doing? The girl fumbled with an innocent tone. You're home already. Ham wasn't doing much, just playing digging in the dirt. Yeah, that's right, playing digging. But the girl's worried eyes dropped down. Tien spoke sternly. If you saw it, why did you still lie? Ham panicked, her voice trembling. Because Ham is afraid you hate violent kids. What if you don't want me anymore? What would I do? Tien scolded, but full of love. Nonsense, why would I not want Ham anymore? The girl's eyes shimmered with tears. But Ham killed someone. Uncle Nam thought silently. So that's the key point. Tien gently comforted. No matter what mistake you made, I'll be by your side to share the burden. But from start to finish, you're the most important family to me. He patted her head and continued. Actually, I'm glad to see Ham can protect herself. You just need to be yourself. I'll guide you so don't carry heavy burdens. In a gentle tone, he added, Facing bad people with evil schemes, you did very well. We don't harm others, but we won't let others harm us. Little Ham happily shouted, Whoever bullies you, I'll blow their head off. Tien laughed and replied, Big brother does the same. Uncle Nam stood beside them, thinking the world is changing too fast. He has to adapt a bit. Tien turned and asked, You mean you saw a red light glowing from them and got so annoyed you ordered to blow their heads off? Ham nodded excitedly. They were showing off too. Ham doesn't like that kind of light that makes people nervous. Tien suddenly asked again, So except for those people, did you see light on anyone else? Ham replied with a clear voice. Yes, you have a green light that makes people relax, and Little Black has a greenish light that makes people feel close. Uncle Nam heard this with a confused expression. Ham Ham continued. Little Thean's light is red. Mr. Nam's is gray with a bit of green, and before the passers-by I saw had gray lights. Thean was amazed, thinking the common point of those with red lights is that they harbor ill will toward Ham Ham. Could it be that Ham Ham is also a player in the game? He hurriedly pressed Ham. Ham, besides seeing different lights on people, did you see anything else, like numbers? The girl shook her head. No. Thean continued. So since when did you start seeing lights on others? Ham tilted her head, thinking, probably a week ago. Thean pondered. Ham's ability appeared after the season of destruction began, but you didn't see the system, so you're definitely not a player. Then it might be a natural evolution after eating radiation-resistant vegetables. Ham tilted her head, thinking her eyes sparkling. Whenever he thinks about something, he likes to squeeze my face. Thean laughed, making Ham's eyes widen. You laugh in a way that scares people. Thean joked. Isn't that right? I'm having fun here. He thought to himself that the food from the system is different from radiation-contaminated food outside with fewer side effects and a higher mutation rate. Ham and I only ate anti-radiation foods for a few days, which not only strengthened our bodies, but also caused Ham to evolve a supernatural ability to see others' emotions. Isn't this like increasing intimacy? Tian pondered her ability to quantify data was like having a real eye, so Ham's ability might as well be called a good and evil eye. He happily exclaimed, That's great, Ham! This ability of yours is really useful. Ham excitedly asked, So from now on I can help you write. Tian nodded warmly and smiled. Of course. If you ever see anyone with red light, you must tell me. I'm your most reliable assistant. The girl's eyes shone brightly with joy. Tian rubbed her head and said, Hungry, aren't you? I'll cook you a hearty meal. A feast was laid out fragrant and inviting. Tian turned to Ham and announced, Ham, from now on, Uncle Nam will live with us on the farm and he will help too. Uncle Nam replied politely in a deep voice, Though I don't fully understand the situation yet, this is what I should do. Whatever you say, I'll do. Ham clapped happily. Great, sir. Where does Uncle Nam live? Uncle Nam answered gently. I built a thatched house outside the gate. Usually I just watch the main entrance. Ham asked casually. If Uncle Nam lives with us, what about Uncle Xiaotian? Uncle Nam said sadly with a choked voice. He went to another world to atone. Ham ate while speaking in a clear voice. Looks like those who emit red light and want to bully you don't live long. The girl excitedly said, If anyone dares bully my brother and Little Black, I'll have Big White blast their heads off. Tian laughed teasingly. You really are a little mischievous spirit with mind-reading powers. Time to eat! Uncle Nam stood quietly beside them, thinking, Yes, there's no worse situation than now. These hands are stained with blood, but now they're free from burdens. I only need to help my son get revenge and guard the gate for Master Xiao Li. I'm willing. Elsewhere, a TV news broadcast said, Today is the 15th day after the Great Disaster. The death toll in Lam Tin has reached 38.6 million. The Yanhuang Federation recorded 4.7 million deaths. Currently, the federal government is actively mobilizing reserve food supplies. The news continued. Soilless cultivation technology will soon be widely implemented. A man turned off the TV and reassured, Citizens, please don't worry. Bok Kin Ton entered and asked, Father, what did you want to see me about? The man replied, Have you seen Xiaoren's report? Kin Ton nodded. Yes, I have. Lung Tianvu is dead. The man sighed. Yes, that kid was good at making money. What a pity. He paused, his tone grave. Now the mutation progress is accelerating. The military headquarters in Nam Kuang just captured a mutated level 5 beast. Bok Kin Ton was shocked. What? It has already evolved into a level 5 mutated beast. He frowned deeply, his voice serious. Right now, the highest level we can handle is level 3, and even then we have to use industrial-grade weapons. He sighed and continued. In the deep forest, without human interference, plants infected by radiation are thriving. Even low-level mutated species which prey on each other will mutate quickly. Human science and technology are nothing compared to the power of nature. He stopped, his eyes sharp. So take over the laboratory over there. Shorin has discovered Lung Tianvu's secret. He used many interesting techniques combined with what we have. He emphasized the urgent need to find the virus state. Bok King Tone nodded in agreement. At this moment, Nam Tu, holding her head, tossed the documents aside, thinking, the records from 2 days ago were completely normal. The cause of Lung Tianvu's death must have occurred within those 2 days. She murmured thoughtfully. But the cameras from those 2 days were completely erased by him. The clues are cut off. It's useless to think about it. Let's choose a new location for the research institute first. Nam Tu fell into deep thought, then stood to prepare to welcome the new person in charge at Nam City. Nyam Tia warmly welcome to Nam City. She shook hands with Bok Kin Ton, smiling. I'm Nam Du, pleased to meet you. He replied, This is my assistant, Dai Quay. He asked, By the way, I heard you've selected a general location for the new research institute. Could you show me around? Nam Tu nodded. Of course, I've picked several sites on the outskirts. You can choose the one that suits you best. Bok Kin Ton answered, All right. Meanwhile, at Tian Tian's side, the system screen appeared. He observed silently, thinking the variety of food types was rich, and points could be accumulated to buy different kinds all at the same level. He looked at a picture of a bluefin tuna, a rare dish before the apocalypse. Now only 500 points were needed to get it. He turned to Ham Ham and asked, Ham Ham, do you want to eat tuna belly? The girl exclaimed, eyes sparkling. That red thing melts in your mouth like that. Thin Tin laughed. Yes, before we didn't have money to order much, now we can eat as much as we want. Ham Ham excitedly said, I want to eat. The whole group set off. Dai Buck drove. Tien Tien said, Let's go, we'll dig the fish pond together. They began the work. Dai Buck used the excavator to dig the earth. Tien Tien observed the scene and ordered, Start from here. Uncle Nam took Tiu Hak along, then asked the boss, How old is Tiu Li Tiu Hak now? Why do I see he's bigger than before? Tien Tien was surprised. No way! Tiu Hak has matured, so he shouldn't grow any bigger. Uncle Nam nodded. Could it be because the food on the farm is so good he's gotten fat? I remember when he first came. Tiu Hak was only knee-high to me, now he's up to my thigh. Hearing that Thin Thin paid closer attention, thinking it was true spending every day at Chung, so she didn't notice. He looked at Tiu Hak, feeling alert. The body shape changed unusually. If he mutated like Tu Bak, it would be trouble. But since what happened to Tu Bak, the toxic item in the farm has been handled. Could it be like Ham Ham Tu Hak is eating radiation-resistant and evolution-enhancing food? Tien Tien glanced at Tu Bak, silently reminding herself to watch carefully and not let anything happen again. Suddenly, the system announced a visitor alert. Tien Tien frowned, wondering who it could be again. Uncle Nam saw him dazed and asked, What's wrong with you? The system continued, Visitors include 2 males and 1 female, threat level 81. At the same time, Nan Tiao led Bok Kin Ton to the farm. She asked researcher Bok, There's really no need to go to the chosen sites to check, but the equipment and guards there are more complete. Bok Kin Ton smiled politely. This farm's location isn't bad. The area is spacious enough. The guards and equipment waiting to buy a new farm will all be available. I'm very satisfied with this place. Nan Tiu thought to himself, noticing a hint of displeasure in his eyes. This person smiles brightly but isn't easy to talk to. I worked hard to choose the location, but he didn't even look at her. Smiling warmly in response. Okay, as you requested, no one has come here for a while. It probably won't be exposed. Bok Kin Ton ordered Dai Quay to knock on the door. Tien Tien stepped out coldly and asked, What do you want? Bok Kin Ton smiled. You're the boss here, right? We have some business. Could you open the door for us to talk? Tien Tien refused bluntly. No, if you have something to say, say it here. I'm very busy. Bok Kin Ton softened his tone. I understand. The situation is chaotic now. Nam Du, standing nearby, thought to herself, what kind of attitude is this? She stepped forward and introduced herself. I'm the CEO of Thin Yuan Company. Nam Du took a card from her pocket and handed it to Thin Thin, saying briefly, I want to buy this farm from you. Name your price. Thien Thien inwardly guarded against Thien Yuan. Could it be they've tracked down the farm? Nan Tiu continued confidently. You just state your price. Whether supplies or anything else I can satisfy you. If you don't have a place to live, I can even buy you a house in the city center villa district. Thien Thien replied bluntly. No need. Yam Tiu frowned. You don't want to hear the price. You must know Thien Yuan's reputation in Nam City. Maybe after hearing the price you'll change your mind. Thien Thien cut in firmly. No need, I like it here. Even if you gave me a mountain of gold, I wouldn't change. Hearing this, the big man Dai Kui rushed to the door, shouting, Don't know what's good for you! The system immediately reported detecting a violent attack on the farm's main door at a certain intensity. Attack 2, deploy. Counterattack. Thien Thien ordered, Stop attacking. He glanced at Dai Kui, thinking that one punch from this guy was enough to trigger a system alert so he's not simple. Shouting, Nan Tiu turned to Bot Kinton, but before he could speak, he yelled, Dai Kui! The big man startled, trembling. Bot Kinton slapped Dai Kui hard in the face, shouting, Looks like you forgot what I taught you. If you act on your own again, get lost back to Mado. Dai Kui bowed his head apologetically. Sorry, Mr. Bach. I was wrong. I won't do it again. Thien Thien saw a spark of interest flash in his eyes, smiled softly. Oh, interesting. Bok Kinton hurriedly soothed the confused man below. Don't take it to heart. Thien Thien replied calmly, I'm not taking it to heart. Come on, come here. Dai Kui stepped forward, but unexpectedly, Thien Thien suddenly threw a strong punch to his stomach, causing Dai Kui to clutch his belly in pain and collapse. Seizing the opportunity, Thien Thien skillfully attached a feng shui device to Dai Kui. He said coldly, You punched my main door once. I owe you one. We're even now. If there's nothing else, go ahead. Bok Kinton watched, smiling with interest. He tore a piece of paper and showed it to Thien Thien. Looks like we were too abrupt. Sorry to trouble you. He smiled warmly. Here's my phone number. If you ever change your mind, just contact me. Standing beside Nan Tiu guessed silently, This guy is so rude he definitely won't accept. But when Thien Thien took the paper, she was stunned. What are you thinking? This bastard dares to look down on people, and yet he accepted. They left. Thien Thien waved goodbye. He held the paper deep in thought. He didn't expect Thien Yuan's people to find the farm so quickly. Was it a probe or a coincidence? The system notified the location of the top warrior Feng Tiao. The image of their vehicle appeared in Thien Thien's mind. He smiled confidently. We'll meet again soon. Back at the farm, Thien Thien started cooking. The next phase of the destruction season is about 10 days away. The planting area is producing steadily. The aquaculture zone has begun excavation. We need to open another livestock area. Thien Thien took it smiling slyly. That good, huh? Try it, taste a piece. Tell me if it's really delicious. The girl beamed. Really? Winter means eating goat hot pot warms your whole body. Thien Thien nodded. Exactly. Uncle Nam asked with concern. You two are dressed too lightly, aren't you cold? He worried. And now the land can't be farmed anymore. How can we eat like this? Thien Thien understood and answered. You've been curious for a while, haven't you? I can't say much specifically. Uncle Nam nodded. I get it. I shouldn't have asked about your secret. Thien Thien said proudly with confidence, The food here isn't ordinary. Eating it long-term causes changes in the body. You won't feel cold. Stamina increases, strength grows, and you can even evolve some unusual abilities. He smiled at Uncle Nam. I'm looking forward to your evolution. Uncle Nam was stunned and stammered, What? That sounds like science fiction. Thien Thien laughed joyfully, his eyes sparkling as if discovering something interesting. Look at you. This great disaster isn't science fiction after all, is it? Moreover, if it weren't for petrification, it's hard to imagine many provinces once had giant prehistoric beasts like that. But given the current situation, having superpowers isn't surprising. Instead of calling it a natural disaster, he said slowly and thoughtfully, it's more like a slow but mysterious form of evolution. Hearing this, Uncle Nam trembled slightly, his eyes showing fear. Young Master Xiaoli, I don't understand what you're saying. He stammered, then quickly changed the subject, trying to sound natural. Let's eat. Just eat. Suddenly remembering something, he asked again. By the way, did anyone come today? Tian Tian paused thoughtfully, his brow furrowing slightly before answering, people from Tianyuan. Hearing this, Uncle Nam's face darkened. He stood up abruptly, gripping his chopsticks tightly until they trembled, his voice full of anger. Is that true? Taking a deep breath, trying to control his anger, but still shaky. Young Master Xiao Li, even a useless old man like me eating the food from this farm can change my pulse, right? Tian Tian remained calm and indifferent. Yes, exactly. He responded with the calmness of a still lake. Uncle Nam looked up to the sky and sighed heavily, his eyes sad. I know now, he muttered. Tian Tian advised in a steady tone. You all should go rest early. I still have some things to do outside. After saying that, he sped away on his bike, quickly disappearing into the night. Meanwhile, Nam Tiu led Kin Ton to the resting place. Mr. Bok warmly pointed to the house ahead. This is my home. Tonight, please stay here temporarily. Tomorrow I will arrange better accommodations. Kin Ton politely replied, Thank you, President Nam. Nam Tiu smiled and clearly introduced, There are 4 rooms downstairs you can choose from. I will have someone prepare meals and deliver them to your rooms. Kin Ton nodded. All right. Nam Tiu continued. Rest early. Kin Ton responded. You too. Nam Tiu went upstairs, annoyed. Damn, it's so cold and there are still mosquitoes. She muttered as she walked and thought, I've been tired all day, just take a shower and rest. After showering, she stood in front of the mirror, admiring herself with satisfaction. Who is this dazzling beauty? She praised herself proudly. Namdu, your work ability is strong and you're this beautiful. How can others live up to you? While feeling pleased, she suddenly noticed Tian Tian's spying device. Her expression turning angry as she muttered, No, this flapping sound is like a bug so annoying. She walked over to open the window to see if it could fly out, and took a deep breath of fresh air, muttering, Been using the AC too long, finally breathing natural air. Suddenly she bumped into Tian Tian right there. Both were startled and didn't react in time. Without hesitation, Tian Tian rushed forward like a flash, covering Nam Tiu's mouth, screaming in her head, Help! How are the bodyguards outside doing their job? Tian Tian pinned her to the floor, her overwhelming strength rendering her immobile, her heart panicking. Fire all these people, too many, I can't resist, I have to hit the culprit first. Tian Tian spoke in a low but cold tone. I'll let you go. Don't scream, understand. Don't have any other ideas. She could try to see if her knife was faster or if the bodyguards arrived quicker. Nam Tiu tried to calm herself, muttering inside, Calm down, must stay calm. When released by Tian Tian, she trembled and stammered, The money is in the bedside drawer, all unmarked bills plus some gold jewelry. Take it all, just please don't hurt me and I absolutely won't report to the police. Tian Tian looked at her with cold eyes but couldn't hide her satisfaction. You're quite cooperative, he replied in a voice as cold as stone. Nam Tiu hurriedly continued trying to keep calm. Lately it's just for money hurting me doesn't benefit you. He grabbed the money and said quickly, Enough for you to buy a lot of food. Tian Tian smirked sarcastically. Oh, but unfortunately, I'm not here to steal money. Hearing that, Nam Tiu panicked, eyes wide with horror. Ah, could it be you? Suddenly bursting out in trembling curses. Pervert, twisted mind-sex maniac, if you touch me, I'll catch whatever you have. Remember this. Tian Tian immediately covered her mouth, eyes sharp. I'm asking if you sent people to handle Lung Tin Vu. Mr. Lung, is that right? Otherwise, why haven't you found the culprit after so long? Nam Tiu was stunned, thoughts chaotic. Wasn't it a sexual assault? She thought silently. All of Lung Tin Vu's assistants are dead. Where did this person come from? She carefully asked, Are you with Lung Tin Vu? Tian Tian nodded slowly with determination. Mr. Lung has done great favors for me. He died under unclear circumstances. I have to avenge him. I heard you're currently investigating Mr. Lung's cause of death. Give me all the documents you have. I want to see them. Nam Tiu suddenly understood a flash of light appearing in his eyes. So you came to ask for an explanation. Trying to regain composure, he replied, "Listen to me. The cause of Lung Tinvu's death is under investigation by both me and the police, but too many leads have been cut off. In a short time, the culprit couldn't be identified." Tian Tian frowned coldly. "Mr. Lung died and you took his place. Maybe it was you who did it." Nam Tiu hurriedly defended himself sharply. "You have no evidence. Lung Tinvu had too many enemies in Nam City. It's very normal for someone to take advantage of the chaos to kill him. He died so tragically, it must have been enemies who killed him. I had no deep hatred or grudge against him to kill over the CEO position that's not worth it." Tian Tian pondered, eyes scrutinizing. Basically, she was right. This woman isn't stupid either. But he immediately shouted in frustration, "There really is no suspect." He destroyed all documents and surveillance cameras related to recent plots. Now I don't even know who he was dealing with right before he died. How can I identify a suspect? This is giving me a headache. Hearing this, Nam Tiu was also silent, eyes showing sympathy. She whispered, "Can you let me go now?" Just then, rapid footsteps sounded. Someone knocked and shouted, "Mr. Nam, what's going on? Open up!" Tian Tian immediately knocked Nam Tiu unconscious outside. Dai Kui was still frantically banging on the door. The nanny shouted in panic, "The alarm system went off! Something must have happened. Mr. Dai Kui, you have to save Mr. Nyam." Dai Kui kicked the door open and rushed in. The group stormed into the room. The nanny shouted, "Mr. Nam!" She ran over to support Nam Tiu. While Dai Kui hurried to the window, the maid held Nam Tiu, shouting loudly, "Mr. Nam, what's wrong with you?" Dai Kui angrily roared, "Damn it, he got away again!" Tian Tian had already escaped in time, running and thinking that scar-faced monster actually dared to break the door, but immediately after he felt a pang of guilt. Breaking into a girl's bedroom late at night might be a bit rude. While running, he suddenly bumped into Kinton. Tian Tian frowned, voice doubtful. "How did you find me? I clearly left no trace." Jing Zun said calmly, his sharp eyes replying, "When you stepped on the gravity sensor on the window, I had already told Dai Kui to block the main door. If you didn't want a direct confrontation with us, you would definitely jump out the window. This route is the optimal one." Hearing that Tian Tian thought silently, this person is very capable. But he immediately sneered, "Is a mere gate enough to stop me?" Without hesitation, he charged forward and threw a punch at Jing Zun. Unexpectedly, he was thrown back. Jing Zun quickly countered with a knee strike. He laughed excitedly, his eyes sparkling with interest. "Arm bones just can't compare to knee joints. According to my calculations, your arm bones would definitely break from a direct impact force of 700 kilograms. The wrist bones can't dissipate that force either. But right now, you don't show any sign of injury." Jing Zun curled his lips, eyes full of curiosity. "Have you trained in martial arts? But I can't see that you used any trick to neutralize the force. Now I'm very suspicious. Can you explain?" Tian Tian looked at Jing Zun coldly. "If not, then you won't be leaving tonight." At this moment, Tian Tian's hand trembled slightly. Thinking to herself, could this guy have trained in some combat technique or martial art, and still managed to catch a punch from me? Although my body's reflexes now surpass ordinary people, being held by a skilled fighter is really troublesome. Suddenly he heard a noise from afar. "Check over there." Tian Tian quickly turned and said, "Sorry, no time to play with you. Next time we meet, I'll beat you into a pig's head." Jing Zun immediately charged forward, voice resolute. "I told you won't leave tonight." But just then, a wisp of smoke passed by. Tian Tian threw another punch, causing Jing Zun to fall to the ground. Taking the opportunity, Tian Tian dashed away, laughing loudly. "Goodbye, Mr. Bodyguard!" Jing Zun shouted angrily. "So despicable!" Tian Tian climbed over the wall and left. Her figure quickly disappeared. The bodyguards only caught up then and anxiously asked Mr. Bai, "You let her get away. Researcher Bai, are you okay?" "Damn it!" Jing Zun was still coughing harshly, eyes red from the smoke. They worried, "Are you all right?" Jing Zun thought silently. This person is very smart. Her body's qualities almost surpass human limits. Truly an extremely perfect specimen. He shook his head calmly. "I'm fine, just need to clear my eyes. Don't chase after her anymore. She's very fast. You won't catch up." Mr. Bai anxiously asked, "How is Mr. Ren? Do you want us to go after him?" Inside the room, the team checking Ren Xiao confirmed she had no serious issues. Jing Zun said in a low tone to the nanny, his eyes cold, "The kidnapper only knocked her unconscious. Wait until she wakes up, then find those medicines from the medical kit and give them to her. I've written the dosages here." The nanny said worriedly, voice trembling, Mr. Bai, should we call the police? Jingzun tactfully declined, calm but firm. The city is chaotic now, and nothing seems stolen. Better not trouble the police. The nanny reluctantly agreed. Okay, we'll listen to you. If nothing happens, this world is really chaotic. Suddenly, a man rushed in shouting, Mr. Bai, something's wrong! He gasped, reporting, I just checked the room and found a hard drive missing. Jingzun's face darkened, his eyes cold. The dark gray hard drive on the computer, Daikui nodded worriedly. Yes, that one. Meanwhile, Tian had already fled far away to her hideout. He carefully plugged the hard drive into the computer, disconnected the network to ensure safety. He muttered, eyes fixed on the screen as an experimental file appeared when he inserted the drive. Tian frowned, thinking, could this experiment mean that person is a research staff member? Isn't this top-secret material from Shuntian? He continued reading, his heart shaken. Even though a large number of creatures died from this, I still insist that the radioactive nature of the food caused drastic changes in their limbs and body shape. The food itself isn't the only disaster. What it brings to creatures is not just death and deformity. He stared at the screen, muttering, there is also evolution. It's just that their evolutionary path went wrong, so they fell along the way. Continuing file, I believe I can find the right path even if it costs lives. Tian paused, full of doubt. The voice in the file said, I will let humanity, because of this disaster, advance to the next civilization. Then humans will no longer be forced to separate because of incurable diseases. They will no longer die young from congenital illnesses. They won't be looked down on because of insufficient strength. They can use manpower to stand shoulder to shoulder with divine beasts. Their lifespan could extend to 300 years. But no matter whether what awaits me at the end is death or infinite glory. Over there, Daikui anxiously asked with a worried tone, has Mr. Bach found anything yet? King Tan shook his head, his gaze thoughtful. The other side must have used some trick. It's also possible they haven't checked the contents of the main hard drive yet. We can't detect any signals from the location of the secondary drive. Daikui frowned. Is it really that important? King Tan sighed, trying to appear indifferent. Anyway, the data on that drive is all old information. Even if outsiders take it, it's hard to understand. But suddenly he turned pale. Long silently thought that if others saw that notebook, they could guess our purpose for coming to Nam City. Daikui spoke in a deep voice full of suspicion. Mr. Bach, this event is too coincidental. We were ambushed as soon as we arrived in Nam City. Could it have been done by someone from Number 7? King Tan shook his head calmly but sharply. If Number 7 really wanted to act against us, it wouldn't be this new person carrying it out. This person has very strong physical qualities, but their skills are unfamiliar. Meanwhile, Tian sat before the computer, his eyes glued to the screen, his heart heavy. This person shared the same idea as him, but paid with human lives. He thought silently. It was truly arrogant. Could it be they experimented on human bodies? Suddenly, a group of cute little pets appeared before his eyes like triple-flavored cheese sticks. Little onset mountain rabbits, and little distant chicken chicks. Their common trait was boundless cuteness that could melt anyone's heart. Ham, the girl with eyes bright as car headlights in broad daylight, couldn't help but exclaim, Where did you get these fluffy little animals? The little mistress's fascination made Xiaobok, the old pet, frown worriedly about being replaced by Number 7's favorites. Tian still stroked his V-shaped chin thoughtfully, trying to explain to his little sister. While he was lost in excessive thought, Ham quickly picked up the little rabbit, excited to put makeup on it. After a moment of thought, Tian bluffed that he had a magic bag like some blue robotic cat. So naturally, he had the whole world in his hands. Ham, innocent and trusting, believed him immediately without suspicion. She still held her colored pencil, scribbling love hearts all over the poor little rabbit's face. Tian thought to himself, since I started this act, I have to play my part well. He sternly warned her not to tell anyone because this was a secret between them. The girl nodded repeatedly, her eyes sparkling. Okay, lucky to have a sensible and innocent little sister. Suddenly, Tian noticed the onset rabbit lying helpless in his sister's hands. The little rabbit's face had been smeared all over, distorted beyond recognition. He immediately transformed into the exemplary older brother, sternly reminding Ham not to play with food like that. Hearing the words, food, the girl panicked, her round eyes wide with fear. How could you eat such a cute rabbit? Ham knelt, pleading with her brother, sobbing. The rabbit is still young. I want to raise it, not eat cute animals. Tian didn't say much, just smiled and played his trump card. Rabbit meat is too spicy. Those words were deeply ingrained. He continued, joking, rabbit dishes aren't just those. They're spicy rabbit hot pot diced rabbit stir-fried with pickled vegetables. Not to mention pork, chicken, pork rice, grilled chicken feet for the full set. Hearing her brother list all these delicacies, Ham's mouth watered uncontrollably. Tian deliberately teased his eyes, twinkling with a smile. Does the little girl want to be a vegetarian? Though reluctant to sacrifice the little rabbit in her arms, Ham's belly and foodie soul betrayed her. She knew she couldn't hold back her mouth when hearing about delicious food. Tian took the opportunity to teach her a life philosophy in a serious yet witty tone. Once you eat something delicious and rare, you have to finish every last bite. That's the respect you show for food. This lesson moved Ham, her eyes sparkling as if about to shed tears. Tian held out both hands, his gaze gentle as he handed the little rabbit to him. Too right. Ham pondered for a moment, then seriously promised as she handed the rabbit over. From now on, I'll learn to finish every bite without leaving any behind. These brothers really have a unique way of thinking about food. While chatting happily with Ham, the system suddenly announced the appearance of a rare item in the cornfield. Hearing about the rare item, Tian's curiosity lit up like a child hearing about candy, his eyes shining with wonder at what it could be. He had no choice but to leave his sister behind to play, while he immediately set off to search the cornfield treasure, determined to unearth that rare item. Upon arrival, he discovered the treasure was a Type 2 albino corn, a mutated variety grown in a radioactive environment. Its effect amazed him. It increased strength tenfold for 30 seconds. Tian held the small white ear of corn in the palm of his hand, murmuring, "Now there's something to boost my strength." This was Popeye's spinach, but he quickly frowned. Why is there only one ear like this? He searched the entire cornfield, no ears here or there. Everyone answered that there were no more. Finally, Tian gave up the hopeless search, thinking this must be a rare stroke of luck. The system provided no further information about this item. He pondered. If he couldn't find more, he'd have to expand the cultivation area, hoping the chance of albino corn appearing would increase. But that idea was quickly dismissed. Expanding cultivation would reduce crop quality and couldn't produce the best ears of corn. Tian shook his head. Business must be honest and upright. Tricks are just like cream on a cake's surface. They don't last. The scene shifted to a house with delicate, gentle design. Even through the thin window, the elegant aura of the house's owner could be felt. Nyamdu nibbled a pastry while typing on her computer, watching Doraemon to help swallow it down easier. Suddenly, horrific memories flooded back, violent images, beatings, and she was the one who had endured that pain. By some mysterious force, a strange man had knocked her out and assaulted her. The humiliation made her blood boil, her eyes blazing with determination to find that man, tear him to pieces, and throw them to the fish. She gritted her teeth. This security system is useless. Guards, police, no one could catch that scoundrel. She realized she couldn't investigate in the usual way anymore. Nyamdu looked at the faded hair she had picked up from that man, murmuring, "This could be evidence against him." The image of Khan Hung from last night still lingered in her mind, impossible to shake off. She brushed her hand through the air as if trying to chase away those frightening memories, silently vowing, "No matter where that scoundrel hides, even at the ends of the earth, I will catch him." Determined, Namdu went downstairs where Bak Tien-sin was sitting calmly enjoying tea with a relaxed demeanor. Seeing her, he closed the book in his hands and smiled gently, his eyes full of affection and ready to listen. Nyamdu sat down slowly, speaking softly to thank him for his massage technology, saying it had helped her recover. She skillfully led into the topic. "I want to introduce you to a factory I found. Now I want to hand it over to you as a research institute." Bak Tien-sin, with his usual subtlety, caught her meaning and smiled steadily. "Get straight to the point, don't beat around the bush." Namdu no longer hesitated and directly expressed, "I want to ask you to use your biological expertise to analyze the DNA of this hair." She held up the strand of hair, her eyes firm. Bak Tien-sin frowned, his tone doubtful. "This is very difficult. Comparing it with over 100,000 DNA samples in Nam Than is like searching for a needle in a haystack, not to mention the collection and analysis process. He was curious. Is this person important to you? Nyamdu sighed, putting aside this impossible idea, but accidentally blurted out, "Last night, a scoundrel assaulted me." Hearing this, Bok Tien-sin's face darkened, his eyes flashing with anger. He stood up abruptly, surprising Namdu. Just a moment ago he was complaining it was hard, now he boldly declared it easy. "Leave this matter to me. I'm very willing to help." Namdu was stunned, thinking this person truly has two faces, but she didn't refuse and quickly thanked him. "Thank you." The scene shifted to the laboratory where a bright red vial of medicine had just been formulated with a dilution level of 10 pH. The liquid was tested immediately. After receiving the drug, the test animal's eyes turned blood red, its muscles grew at a dizzying speed, looking extremely monstrous. Data was hastily recorded. Dozens of red eyes appeared, creating a terrifying scene. A new creature was born, screaming violently like it had gone mad. After the injection, the restraints could no longer hold it. It smashed the glass door as if trying to escape. But how could it evade the cold gaze of the scientists? The N-beta virus experiment failed again this time. The mad creature smashed the glass, roaring loudly under the cold eyes of the three witnesses. Bak King-ngan observed the test creature mercilessly with sharp eyes. Anyway, the order to eliminate it would be issued soon, he thought silently. Red blood spread across the field of vision, covering the dark space, hiding the death approaching the creature. Memories suddenly flooded Bak King-ngan's mind, taking him back to the past. A luxurious mansion like something out of a fairy tale appeared. This was where countless nobles gathered for an extravagant festival. Bak Kin-ming, the eldest son of the family, was laughing loudly with his close friends, all curious why he left his younger brother standing alone in the corner like that. Bak Kin-ming never liked his cold younger brother, rejecting Bak Kin-ngan as a mongrel unworthy of being his brother. In another corner of the mansion, Kin-ngan leaned against the wall, looking pensive and sorrowful. No one wanted to talk to the family's outcast. Pitifully, he became entertainment for the nobles. They played a stupid game holding his head underwater. Kin-ngan couldn't breathe or call for help, helplessly letting them abuse him. Two nobles despised mongrels like him, pushing his head down while kicking his back painfully. Instead of protecting his brother, Bak Kin-min just watched with a mocking tone. "Don't hurt the face. Keep tormenting him for my amusement." He did this just to fool his father and avoid blame, throwing away all shame. Kin-ngan tried to call for help, but his words didn't reach those people's ears. Kin-min clicked his tongue, eyes full of contempt. This filthy mongrel has no right to call him brother. The painful memories tormented Kin-ngan's mind until he suddenly woke up shouting, "Don't hit me." It turned out it was all a horrific nightmare. His breathing was heavy as if he had just endured a haunting nightmare. He looked at the vial of N-beta virus on the table, which was growing stronger by the day. "Soon I will create tens of thousands of mutations to defeat the brother I hate," he murmured, his eyes flashing determination. The scene shifted to a TV screen, broadcasting today's news reporting more mutations occurring in Nam City, piles of dead creatures with unclear origins forcing authorities to investigate. Ham usually only liked watching cartoons, but today switched to watching the news, surprising Tian Tian. He teased, eyes sparkling. "Is the little sister all grown up today?" Ham puffed her cheeks in a sulk. "You keep treating me like a 3-year-old kid. Anyway, I have to keep up with what's happening outside. I want to help you more, big brother." The sensible words from the girl made Tian Tian look at her differently, his heart swelling with respect. He smiled, eyes shining with trust, as he said that just being able to see through others' secrets was already a great help to him. It turned out Little Black was getting stronger, able to stand alongside Big Brother. So she also needed to grow up to keep up with him. Speaking of Little Black, he suddenly remembered that lately, the mischievous dog was no longer hyperactive like before. Maybe thanks to the effects of the anti-radiation foods, Little Black had become calmer. So he could rest assured going out with Nam, promising to bring back lots of delicious food for the girl. After all, she was at the age to eat and grow as greedy as a puppy, always nodding in agreement, never objecting. Time flew by like a dog running through the fields. Just like that, an hour quietly passed. The girl's stomach started growling loudly, protesting for food. The girl's eyes casually glanced over the dark brown wooden box. On the table inside were 2 level 4 divine growth seeds, shimmering with magical light. Curious, the girl had the idea to try tasting them. She gave one to Little Black, and without hesitation she put the other directly into her mouth without peeling it. Although Little Black wasn't interested, he reluctantly swallowed it, following his little mistress's eagerness. But as soon as she tasted it, the girl grimaced, her mouth filled with a bitter taste. She quickly ran to rinse her mouth while Little Black, having swallowed the whole seed, began to feel drowsy. He curled up, yawned widely, and then fell into a deep sleep. Suddenly, in the silent space, a savage howl rang out, making the atmosphere eerie. Time passed quickly. It was already pitch dark. From the tool-filled warehouse, creaking sounds echoed as if someone was pushing something. Though drowsy, Uncle Nam fumbled with a flashlight and stepped out to check, suspecting a thief sneaking in during the night. The flashlight beam swept across the corner, and Uncle Nam was startled to see a large, fur-covered silhouette doing something shady, surrounded by fresh red blood stains that looked terrifyingly infuriating. When the silhouette turned around, Uncle Nam was shocked to recognize it was Little Black. Before he could run, the dog suddenly went wild, uncontrollable, charging straight at Uncle Nam with his jet-black fur and huge body. It crashed into the wall, shaking the whole area. Uncle Nam quickly dodged to the side, heart pounding hard, knowing that if he had been a second slower, he might have been done for. The flashlight fell, its beam shining directly on the creature, revealing Little Black's appearance, but this time he looked different. His eyes glowed red like fire, sharp teeth gleaming in the dark, no longer resembling the gentle dog he usually was. Uncle Nam briefly thought maybe Little Black had turned into a mutant beast, but no. He still seemed to recognize human presence, so he hadn't dared to attack immediately. To calm the aggression, Uncle Nam calmly called Little Black's name, and then his own, hoping he would remember. When he asked if he was hungry, the giant wolf shook his head repeatedly as if reacting. Uncle Nam reached out to pet him to reassure him, but Little Black suddenly growled to stop the gesture. Then, without waiting, he dashed outside, leaving Uncle Nam stunned. Uncle Nam shouted loudly, trying to stop Little Black from doing something reckless, because ahead was a high-voltage electric fence that would fry him instantly. But Little Black ignored him, jumping lightly over the electric fence as if it wasn't there. Uncle Nam could only stand helplessly watching the giant figure disappear into the night. At the same time, Li Tiantian, though deep asleep, woke up upon hearing the noise from Uncle Nam. He was immediately informed that Little Black had gone crazy and lost control outside. Uncle Nam, worried, didn't dare say anything careless to him. No matter how crazy Little Black became, somehow he still retained enough awareness to recognize who was in front of him. Mentioning Little Black, he hurried over to ask Han. She hadn't seen the little black dog all night, her heart full of unease. Not wanting her sister to worry more, he gently lied to reassure her that Little Black was just wandering and would come back soon. But Tian wasn't easily fooled. She stubbornly refused to go to sleep without her closest friend by her side. Her small feet were scratched from running everywhere, searching for the little black dog. Seeing those tiny feet, he couldn't help but feel heartbroken. Inside, Tian fear surged, worrying that one day Little Black might disappear forever like Little White. He hugged her gently, soothing her softly, then quietly asked if she had fed Little Black anything unusual recently. She hesitated, but affirmed she hadn't disobeyed him. For the past 2 days, she had fed Little Black 3 meals a day with food from the farm. Only this afternoon, she accidentally gave him a strange seed that sparkled. Hearing this, he immediately realized Little Black had swallowed a level 4 divine growth seed. But why did he go crazy? He wanted to activate the system immediately to find out the cause. The girl still cried, begging him to bring Little Black back. With no other choice, he set out to find the little black dog. After all, to him, Little Black was part of the family. Little Black, under the silver moonlight shining through the leaves in the forest, the silhouette of a giant wolf dashed by. Little Black felt his body burning with an intense craving for fresh meat and blood. His fiery red eyes and sharp teeth revealed a desire that had reached its limit. But Little Black couldn't harm humans because if he did, he would lose face in front of those he cherished most. He could only charge through the night, struggling to suppress the hunger burning his mind. Nearby, a cloaked figure silently observed. He recognized Little Black as the divine beast from the prophecy. Capturing it would surely please the heavenly guard. On the other side, Tian sped around on his exciter motorcycle, searching everywhere for Little Black. Even after having people check all the entrances and exits, there was still no sign. Perhaps Little Black had already left the area. He knew he had to find him quickly. If it fell into the hands of the military police, only death awaited. Just as he was about to continue, he suddenly heard a call from behind. An old woman wrapped in a shawl stepped out and asked Han about the beast that had just run by. Interrupted in his rush, he was annoyed but politely asked if she knew which direction it had run. The old woman didn't answer directly, but instead unexpectedly asked if he knew what lay behind this disaster. To him, nothing mattered more than Little Black. Suddenly, the old woman shouted passionately, preaching about her church. She declared that humans were angering the gods and urged him to join her. From the moment he heard it, he knew this was a multi-level marketing scam. Looking helpless, he asked what the conditions for joining were. Turns out this church wasn't just open to anyone. He certainly didn't get in for free. To join, you had to pay money at different levels. Because he had the divine beast, he just had to hand over Little Black to be accepted immediately. Hearing he had to hand over Little Black, he immediately refused with a sarcastic tone. He advised her to go back and relearn scamming because he already knew this MLM script by heart. Tian Tian, standing nearby, also didn't believe in divine salvation. To her, the only thing that could save humans was themselves. After saying that, he sped off, leaving the old woman choking on dust behind him. She watched his retreating figure and cursed that he would be imprisoned in hell forever for disrespecting the gods. A lowly creature not worthy of being human. Outside the car, Li Tiantian leaned against the door and lit a cigarette. He raised the cigarette to his lips, took a long drag, and closed his eyes, savoring the quiet moment. Suddenly, a faint cry came from nearby bushes. He turned his head, trying to locate the unclear sound. Tian stepped forward and parted the bushes. Before him was a scene that stunned him. A mother dog lay motionless in a pool of fresh blood. Beside her, a puppy whimpered, trying to find its mother's milk. Looking at the mother's body, he guessed she had been hit by a car crossing the road. Only then did he notice the weak puppy still nursing from the cold body. Tian squatted down and gently lifted the puppy to examine it closely. It was still alive. It seemed the mother had died a few days ago, yet this puppy had survived stubbornly. He held it up and it struggled uncomfortably, trying to escape. He placed it in his palm and smiled gently. "We're both orphans, so come home with me, okay?" Back in the present. Little Black's red eyes glared fiercely as he growled. His jaws clenched tightly around the leg of a man in black, refusing to let go. The man screamed in pain. Two nearby accomplices stood back, afraid to approach. One panicked and shouted to help him quickly. Little Five was about to lose it. As night fell outside the apartment, Bai Jingyan listened to the full report. He didn't expect a mutant dog to sneak into this area. The accomplice just spoke up. Little Five said that while smoking in the forest, he accidentally flicked the cigarette ash onto the beast, which made it become aggressive and attack people. Bok King-on was angry, but thought silently that the guy was really gutsy to dare do that. The other man quickly explained, no, it was actually hiding in the bushes. Little Five said it was just an accident. Hearing this, Bok King-on suddenly turned his head, his eyes coldly staring at the mutated beast hiding in the bushes. This action surprised the man, who stammered, Yes, that's right." Bok King-on was deep in thought, his eyes full of calculation. Low-level mutated beasts usually just wander aimlessly, but this one was different. It only bit the staff's legs as if it knew the danger of guns and deliberately used the man as a hostage. Simply put, it was frighteningly intelligent. He thought to himself that if they could capture this beast for research, it would greatly improve the stability of Virus 5. "Could you be the perfect mutated creature I've been searching for?" Bok King-on muttered, a gleam of greed flashing in his eyes. Bok King-on turned back with cold eyes, instructing the staff to notify everyone to capture the mutated beast alive before the army and police arrive. One staff member hurriedly responded, "Yes, sir." Bok King-on smiled slyly and continued to give orders, permitting the use of tranquilizer guns and sedatives. "Remember, it must be captured alive." A staff quickly handed him the tranquilizer gun. Bok King-on carefully took it, reminding them to shoot carefully, aiming only at the arms and legs. After finishing, he raised the gun and took careful aim. A gunshot rang out the dart, flying straight toward Little Black. Little Black still had the leg of the man from before clenched tightly in his mouth. His fiery red eyes looked at the group as the tranquilizer dart fell to the ground. He immediately leapt up, dodging nimbly. The staff member didn't give up and continued firing at him. Little Black was hit by a dart, howling in pain and rage. He growled, swinging his sharp claws, and scratched fiercely at the staff member who just fired. Bok King-on clicked his tongue, his eyes showing brief disappointment. Despite being injured, Little Black did not linger. He turned and dashed deep into the forest. Those present shouted in panic, unaware, and then he fled. Little Black sped off, disappearing into the darkness despite the shouts and footsteps chasing after him. He did not slow down. At the same time, Li Tintin's system reported that Windbird number 2 detected footprints of a large creature about 700 meters southeast. Hearing this, he immediately revved the vehicle and sped off wildly. Upon arrival, Li Tintin stopped, his eyes horrified as he looked at the bloodstain spreading ahead. He bit his lip, his heart tightening with fear. It must be Little Black. What happened? How did you get so badly injured? In the darkness, cars roared, chasing a strange beast's silhouette. Bak King-on held a gun, sticking his head out of the car, eyes fixed on the prey. He'd never seen a mutated beast with such terrifying speed. His face broke into a wild smile, growing increasingly excited. Watching Little Black's muscular body sprint, he muttered, "Truly a perfect creature. I must catch you." Despite his wounds, Little Black struggled to escape the pursuers. Li Tintin's system again reported the target was found. He ordered Windbird guards to send images to the screen. Clear images of the group chasing Little Black in cars appeared on the screen. Li Tintin requested to zoom in on the image. When the image was zoomed in, he focused intently and requested further enlargement. "I want to see the faces of the pursuers clearly." The face of Bak King-on appeared. Li Tintin immediately recognized the man obsessed with technology. He frowned, wondering why he was chasing Xiaohei. Could it be that he wanted to capture it for research? Without hesitation, he reached out and touched the screen. The system immediately identified No Bak Tang holding a gun. No Bak Tang in Li Tintin's hands gritted his teeth. "You bastard don't even think you'll get your wish." Gunshots continuously echoed beneath Xiaohei's feet. It gave its all to dash away from the barrels pointed at it. From inside a vehicle, a voice ordered decisively over the radio for the other two cars, 02 and 03, to continue the attack from both sides, pushing it toward the old factory. The two vehicles immediately obeyed, splitting to surround Xiaohei from both sides. The remaining vehicle closely followed behind Xiaohei. Sharp teeth glinted in the dark as it glanced at the pursuing group. Suddenly, it kicked hard at a nearby tree trunk, leapt high, then lunged with full force at one of the cars. Its front legs struck the car body hard, shattering the windshield. The person inside panicked and shouted, "Damn it!" The radio immediately reported trouble car number 2 was in danger. A man from the opposite car hurriedly raised his gun, aiming at Xiaohei, who was now biting the arm of the driver of car number 2. 2 bullets sped toward Xiaohei, who turned his head, eyes blazing red, staring straight down the barrel. But at that moment, a hand surrounded by white light flashed, tightly gripping both bullets mid-air. Li Tintin dropped the 2 bullets to the ground, his gaze icy cold. The system announced, "Consuming No Bak Tang will cause you to enter a berserk state. Remaining effective time 26 seconds. The car carrying Bak King-on immediately stopped. He was stunned, not understanding what that white light was. Xiaohei, standing nearby, also looked briefly surprised, as if wondering if that was his owner. Before he could think further, Li Tintin moved at a speed too fast for the naked eye to follow, attacking the surrounding men like a whirlwind. Bak King-on angrily growled, "Damn it, what the hell is going on?" He raised his gun defensively, but his eyes widened as Li Tintin suddenly appeared before him, eyes radiating deadly intent. A powerful punch struck Bak King-on's chin, sending him flying backward with blood pouring from his nose. Li Tintin was about to throw another punch when the system suddenly warned that only 2 seconds of effect remained. His body trembled, collapsing to the ground, sweat pouring out. "Does this stuff have side effects too?" he thought, breathing heavily. Bak King-on struggled to get up lucky to avoid a fatal blow. Trembling, he aimed his gun straight at Li Tintin. "This guy is too dangerous. He must be eliminated." Just as he pulled the trigger, Xiaohei lunged forward, biting deeply into Bak King-on's neck. The bullet hit Li Tintin's shoulder, blood flowing, but Bak King-on's neck was tightly held by Xiaohei's sharp teeth, blood pouring non-stop. Though exhausted, Li Tintin felt Xiaohei's soft fur beside him. He stirred slightly, his blue eyes full of doubt, looking at the black dog, panting heavily, drooling. "Xiaohei, Xiaohei," he whispered. Hearing his owner's voice, Xiaohei paused, then suddenly knocked him down to the ground, resting his head on him. Li Tintin was startled. "Xiaohei, what's wrong with you?" Despite his aching body, he forced himself up and moved closer. His face grew grave as he saw Xiaohei convulsing violently. "System, what's going on?" he shouted in panic. Xiaohei's eyes widened, his body seemingly undergoing a strange transformation. The mist gradually cleared to reveal faded memories, long blurred within Xiaohei's body. Shimmering white wings appeared surrounding him. Under Li Tiantian's anxious calling, Xiaohei's body was gradually enveloped by the white wings, forming a giant cocoon glowing with magical light. Li Tiantian watched worriedly as the giant cocoon surrounded Xiaohei, his heart full of unease.